3, 2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Delusions of Grandeur. I am one of your hosts, but today we are going on about a film that my fiance chose. So why don't you tell us which film that you have subjected us to viewing today?
It's Meridian. It's put out by Full Moon, directed by Charles Dance,
Now,
and
Charles Band, not Charles Dance.
Charles Band,
There we
and
go.
it's
That's
about
what she said.
werewolves.
They don't call them werewolves, though.
It's kind of sexual and legendary, about what mystery, legend, erotic, sexual, all that.
It was filmed in 1990, and why don't we go around to first impressions? Since since this was your choice, Tammy, why don't we get your first impression, and then we'll go around.
Well, I saw
Was
it.
this a first time watch for you?
No, you said it came out in the 90, right?
Yep.
I would say I saw it not long after that. Originally, I had taped it off a TV or something because I had it on a VHS. But after I saw it the first time, I really liked it. And I like werewolves. I like legends and lore, and it, it was somewhat erotic, and it was I liked the atmosphere, because I have later found out too that where they filmed that this garden with the statues actually really does exist, and so does the castle that they used.
Whoa.
But those were things
Yeah.
that I really liked in the actual movie itself. Um, it just it was all around like something I liked, because I've always liked even like in the right vampire movies where you've got the sexual component and the romanticism and everything. It had that too, and so it was something that kind of fit into everything I liked.
Mm,
And this is why she's with the Wolfman, folks.
Alrighty. How about you, Boris? Was this a first time watch for you?
yes, it was, and I did like the movie. Maybe didn't get as much into it as I did get into Dark Angel: The Ascent, but that's probably because demons are more my cup of tea than werewolves. But I've got nothing against werewolves either. It was a good movie. Maybe the beginning maybe dragged on a little too long, but then it did get good later on. Maybe it would have been cool if we got some more character development on the werewolves, these two male characters, but it's still okay. It was a good story with good plot and good ending. I'm glad I watched the movie. It was nice altogether.
Okay. Heading over to you, Mo. Was this a first time watch for you?
No, I've seen Meridian several times. A couple of times I geared up to review it, and then I realized that the edit that I had entirely too much tits and sex, and so I didn't feel like re-editing the entire review, so I scrapped it for a time. This was actually supposed to be like episode 18 of Full Moon Madness, but I think I did Invisible instead. which also had a ton of kinky sex in it. But there was enough other like action, you know, to cut that out and like kill scenes and shit, and still have enough like footage for a review. But this is a movie that I actually didn't see back in the day. I don't know if they kept this in a different section of the video store or what, but Meridian just wasn't
It was
chilling out there
behind the
next to the
curtains.
Puppet Masters. And yeah, it might have been behind a curtain or something. Because I never ran up on it, and I surely would have rented it because of the awesome Beastman on the cover if I had seen it as a kid. But
Well,
I've fallen in love with it. Go ahead.
It had different titles.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was also Meridian, like
And
Mark of the
Kiss of the
Beast,
Beast,
and
Kiss of the
the
Beast,
Ravaging, Kiss
which
of
is
the Beast,
a more
yeah.
recent.
Which is probably why my TV couldn't find it. My TV couldn't find the movie at all. I had to look online to find out where I could watch it.
But yeah, it's like, you know, it's a more recent classic for me in the Full Moon library. And then when you really start looking into it, it's super historical and in Full Moon's like history. This was in the first lineup of 3 films they released as Full Moon. It was the original Puppet Master, Shadow Zone, and Meridian. And it was the only 3 films they released as Full Moon Productions before they became Full Moon Entertainment for the bulk of the 90s. And then it's just got like tons of powerhouse people involved in it, you know. Charles Band himself directed it. You got obviously Mac Ahlberg doing the cinematography, and he shot like Reanimator and Dolls and From Beyond, all the Stuart Gordon shit, and frequently collaborated with Full Moon later on. You got Ted Nicolau doing the editing on this, which is amazing when you consider that Subspecies, like in terms of the sort of vibe of the movies, shares so much in common with Meridian. And I think this inspired Subspecies in a lot of ways because he was editing all this rad footage from Romania.
And I've often thought that the editor is, in fact, the true director behind any film.
Oh yeah, Ted Nicolau was a wizard at it too, man. I mean, Charlie still wasn't trusting him with a lot of directorial stuff back in these days. I think he'd done like Terror Vision, and he hadn't yet done like Subspecies or Bad Channels yet. So he was still just kind of like a behind the scenes dude, but he edited a lot of the best like early Full Moon and Empire stuff. And then you got music on there by Pino Donaggio, which is, I mean, he did the score for Carrie, Piranha, several rad movies. And then when you get into the Full Moon stuff, I mean, he did fucking Tourist Trap, which is one of the best scores that Charlie Band has ever had on one of his movies. So lots of cool layers to Meridian when you start peeling it back, because it is such a central film in the early Full Moon catalog, you know. There's a lot to love about it if you're a fan of just these kind of movies or Full Moon in general. And I like how it's got that twisted Beauty and the Beast thing going on. It's like an erotic Gothic horror fantasy story type thing, and I just dig it. A little bit of a ghost story thrown in there too, which is neat. That's like a cool layer you don't typically see on werewolf or Beastman movies. So I guess there's a lot of ghosts in American Werewolf in London and shit, but yeah, you know, they're more like sight gags. They're not necessarily central to the entire fucking plot. You know?
It's like finding out Bruce Willis is a ghost, finding out the nanny's a ghost. What?
Right.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I love Meridian, man. I mean, it's one that'll, you know, again, I didn't watch it growing up, but it's definitely a frequent, you know, installment in my Full Moon rotation these days, just because it's so rad.
Okay. Heading over to Krol here. Was this a first time watch for you?
It was a first time watch, and most B movies, even if I enjoy them, will probably be the only time I watch. I wouldn't mind seeing this one again. And not to be a pervert, the biggest reason is those boobs on both of them. and I'm sorry, but it's true. Like, and they both hit it well. Like, they were pretty girls, but they hit how well endowed they were. Like,
you know, when it got to those parts, I said to David, I said, Crow's gonna like this movie.
Oh, totally. I mean, it was like, even when she was in her bra, you know, the stuffy noblewoman, you know, she was in her bra and still okay, just a normal girl. She's, you know, obviously nice body and stuff, right? But then when he opened her bra and those babies fell out, it's like, wow, they're just fucking gorgeous. I mean, I love all kinds of tits. I'm a man, but they're fucking perfect. And both women had perfect tits. Like, you never see that ever. It was just like crazy. Like, I don't know this girl much, and Mo showed me a picture of her wearing like an 80s outfit, and I love the 80s, so
It's a
that was
classic.
like, wow, yeah. I mean, obviously now she's like way too old because she's like in her 60s, but
She's in her
man, would I love to have banged her then in the early 90s.
like, I think she's 57 now. I think.
Yeah, like I said, way too freaking old. I mean, that's like
Oh,
way
dude,
too old.
Sherilyn Fenn's still hot as fuck, though.
Yeah.
She's one of those few scream. I don't even know if you call her a
I
scream
don't know,
queen.
maybe. I mean, Linda Carter, I'd still probably do.
She's
her,
aged
'cause-
real good, bro. Trust me. She's still
Yeah.
looking good. She's that type of
'Cause
hot that
I'm
like
definitely
it's
one
like
of
a
those
fine
people
wine.
that
Still want to bang her into her 60s.
Yeah, she's still classically beautiful. I mean, it's she doesn't look like an old. Her looks betray her actual age a little bit.
Well, I mean, her boobs must sag now. I mean, I can't imagine they're still perfect. I mean,
The wonders of modern
the
science. Anything's
fact,
possible, bro.
the thing about it is that they didn't.
You could have a
sag.
couple
They were
new
just like,
sets in
I
there by
mean,
now, you know.
women that have bigger breasts, they sag. I mean, they're big. It happens, but they didn't.
I think we're
It was just like,
assuming that her tits were real, though.
they were
okay?
real.
If you see them
Dude, those
in,
tits are real. I know
no, they're
fake
not.
tits.
If you
Those
see her
tits
in
are
Puppet
real.
Master 2, she's got much smaller tits.
No, those tits are real, dude. Those tits are definitely
Unless they
real.
just did some crazy fucking camera editing of that or something. But I mean, no, they're about the same actually. Yeah, I think they're real.
They are
See,
real.
here's
Dude.
the thing.
Trust me,
Let's
I know.
dispel this misconception now. You don't have to feel like a pervert for liking those elements of Meridian because it's literally designed as that kind of a movie. I mean, it was designed and marketed as an erotic, like, you know,
Yeah.
like.
I mean,
Or
yeah,
in love story.
I can definitely be perverted, and I don't usually pop out the first thing I like about movies is tits. But
Yeah, that's the first thing everyone says about
but
Meridian.
I had to with this movie because those tits on those girls were just fucking perfect.
Yeah, there
man.
is 4 main reasons why everyone remembers this
Yeah.
movie, and you've
Left
pretty
tip,
much
right
covered
tip,
them.
left tip, right tip.
Yeah. I mean, it's a solid Beastman movie, you know, but I guess 5 reasons with the Beastman.
I mean, it was I don't know the movie. Like I said, it was definitely it was a decent movie. I mean, I wouldn't say it was mind blowing or anything. It was a decent movie. It was like you said, Beauty and the Beast type thing, and you know, it didn't really have any one liners that was great. There wasn't anything that stands out as far as dialogue or any action scenes too much. I mean, the best scenes are the sex scenes, in my opinion, and it's just
it goes more for atmosphere and imagery, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's the type of movie you can
and
watch
like
on mute, and it's
and
almost
like
just as good.
and like she had said, the statues and shit. Like, I'd love to visit this place in real life. I would love to visit and see this castle. I mean, I've always been fascinated with castles and wanted to see castles all over, mostly like UK castle types. But yeah, obviously they have some beautiful castles in Italy too, because that castle is beautiful. But the stonework is just incredible, and I love the story that a wizard had turned his enemies to stone. You know, which is just really freaking awesome. You know.
Well, the extras said that part of what they loved about the actors, what they loved about doing this movie was
the location,
the location, having the real castle, having all that stonework. They actually really enjoyed working there.
I actually wish they could have shown more of the castle. I mean, we actually only seen like what 4 or 5 rooms in the whole thing, and there's like what hundreds of rooms. I mean, I don't know how fucking many rooms there are, but yeah, it was gorgeous. Like I said, I've always been fascinated with castles of all kinds. I've always wanted to own one.
That's definitely a benefit of Full Moon being a medium to lower budget studio, is that it was cheaper for them to just use real locations than it was. I mean, if this was like a huge Hollywood movie with like 5 times the budget, they'd have probably just
Built their
some
own.
sets,
Right.
and then the castle itself would have been like a matte painting in the background or whatever effects they would have been using in the early 90s like that to do that. But
Right.
still matte paintings, you know.
And in this case, I like the idea that it was a real castle. I mean, I just
and I think it
that's just
appears
awesome.
in. Is it the same? See, it's confusing with full moon in their castles back in these days because they had like 3 different ones that they would use, couple in Italy and then one in Romania. I'm pretty sure it's not the same one from Subspecies because that one's way older. But this same castle might have been later used again in Pit and the Pendulum. I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched it.
I have no idea, but it was gorgeous, and I would like to have seen more of it. And that's those statues. I definitely love those statues. It was really
it's rad.
really cool.
If I ever went to
Definitely.
like Europe or whatever, I wouldn't mind doing the tour of different full moon locations and just checking some of these places out.
And another thing I like to mention too is the painting that when she's scratching it off, and when you first start seeing the castle, I'm like, oh shit, that's her friend's castle. Like soon as that little bit showed, I knew it was a picture of the castle. And then you get to see the full picture, and you actually see it's like her and the Wolfman and the brother and shit, and it's like the whole story, you know, on this painting. You know, and it's just really fascinating. And you gotta wonder how the kid actually did get that painting, because he said the woman, and she said, well, she's the one in the house, and she didn't do it. She thought it was her nanny, and then to find out her nanny was dead, so obviously wasn't her either.
Oh yeah, that was actually quite a twist.
Where did the kid actually get that painting from? I don't know, but it was definitely
maybe from like a future version of her. You know, that's it's because there's the whole place out of time aspect of the film that has always led me to believe like maybe it was like an old version of her that gave it to him.
Yeah, I don't know, but either way, it was definitely a little weird side twist to the movie. That, you know, I mean, if they didn't have it in there, you probably wouldn't miss it. But having it in there was kind of cool. You know, just having that there's the story that we're watching is on this painting somehow. You know, like as it's happening, it's already on this painting that they already have. So I think that's really cool. You know, I just thought that was a neat little twist in the movie. So, well, that's enough for first impression. Go ahead, Dave, with yours.
I'm trying to remember when I actually first saw this, because I saw this movie way before Tammy even like had it on VHS or whatnot, and I think I have my copy of it on like one of those 8-packs that Mill Creek shoveled out with a bunch of full moon films on it. So I haven't exactly gotten the remastered version that she has, which she picked up.
Well, I gave
the
you
remastered version.
I gave you
Man,
that
you got to see those boobs in remastered.
Right. But
I gave you that 8-pack because I went and bought this one.
I seem to remember seeing it around the same time I saw The Creeps. So when I saw the little midget dude that was
Phil Fondacaro, baby.
Yep. Anybody else felt
Fucking
like going over and kicking him like a midget?
Yeah, that's the intended effect. Phil, this is one of his more villainous roles. When you guys see him in other full moon movies, you'll quickly come.
I mean, at first I thought, I thought,
yeah, wasn't he in Blood-Sucking Freaks as well?
No, that guy does look very like strikingly similar to Phil Fondacaro. But
yeah, I mean, at first when I saw him, I thought it was cool or whatever, and then later on, you start wanting just.
But he was in the
Creeps. Yeah, because he's a little creep in this. He's in
I'm
this.
Sorry, guys. Since I haven't watched these other movies you are talking about, which actor are we actually discussing?
I haven't watched them either, but we're talking about the midget.
Yeah, little person. Phil, he's up in there as he's a Full Moon regular. He's in this. He's in The Creeps as Tiny Dracula, one of his best performances. He's also in
What?
Sideshow as like a badass evil carnival barker. He's in Dolls, I believe. He's in
Ghoulies?
Dollman versus Demonic Toys
Is
as a
he in
little security
anything,
guard holding a big ass gun. It's adorable.
Is there anything
Isn't
A-list?
he in Ghoulies too?
Is there anything like a
Yeah,
Hollywood
he's in
movie?
Ghoulies, too.
I know I've seen him before. And I haven't seen any of these movies.
Was
I
he
might
the
have
one
seen-
in Bad Moon?
I think I saw Ghoulies too, so maybe it was that.
Was he the
It's
one in
possible.
Bad Moon?
Pretty
Sorry,
sure
my
I've seen
spin
Ghoulies
cycle
1 and
just
2.
started over here. I wasn't ignoring you. I was waiting for it to die down. I don't know. I mean, because Phil, he's in so many movies that it's like I'd have to double check it. It wouldn't surprise me if he's ended up in some more Hollywood level stuff because for a long time he was kind of the other tiny dude actor other than Warwick Davis. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Phil Fondacaro.
Right. You prior to Peter Dinklage getting super famous,
He was
from
Von
Game of
Carr in
Thrones.
Willow. He was an
Yeah, he is in
Ewok in Star Wars: Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, that's what I'm
What?
saying. Like, you know, he was the other dude. If you weren't hiring Warwick Davis, you were probably hiring Phil Fondacaro.
Well, Star Wars hired them both.
He was a voice of several characters in the Black Cauldron.
Yep. I feel like a bunch of other stuff too, and obviously he was also Roland on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So that might be where you saw
Oh,
him from.
that's where I know him from, I bet.
Yeah,
Right.
he's in the Doors movie as a random midget at the birthday party. Right, he did that right before the Dollman versus.
He
Demonic
was
Toys.
I've
the
seen that
demon
one too.
clown in Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Dude, he's a. I don't remember him in Land of the Dead. I'm gonna have to rewatch that. That's been a while, but I guess he's in
The
that movie as well.
Earliest film that I remember him in was The Dungeon Master.
Oh shit, he plays Big Mo in an episode of Quantum Leap. No wonder I like Phil so much.
He played Mickey in Hard Rock Zombies.
Big Mo.
And
Oh,
Rocky
dude, I guess
was
in the Addams
Ellen in
Family
American
Reunion
Drive-In.
TV, he played Cousin It in the Addams Family Reunion TV movie.
Oh, did he?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, he's got a long history, Phil. You know, it's a shame more people don't know him like they do Warwick Davis. But you
Oh,
can't
hell
really
yeah,
blame
the
them.
Garbage
I mean,
Pail Kids. He was Greaser Greg.
Yeah, it is.
God.
It is. Well, he's
not
definitely
Phil's finest moment, I'm sure. But
he's definitely one you know by. He's one of those actors you know by.
Fantastic too. He
you know
was
by
one of
face.
he was a hooded dwarf.
yeah, exactly, Krol. He's like that dude. I always forget his fucking name, but from like
The
Little Shop of
Chinese dude?
Horrors, or not that dude, but that same sort of concept where it's like, oh, it's that guy from that thing. Only with Phil, it's like, oh, it's that little guy from that thing. You know.
Right. Well, that's how it was with oh fuck, what the hell's his goddamn name? Trejo. Like for the longest time, he was that guy that was in those movies. Then people finally actually started remembering his name.
Oh,
Yeah.
He
You know.
was Stink
Exactly.
Sucker from Monster High.
And then there's that Asian guy with like the bald head and
Yeah,
the,
when I
and the
said that
mustache.
Asian guy, that's who I was talking about.
Yeah.
Everyone knows. You said that Asian guy, and everyone knows who you're talking about. It's like
Dick
nobody knows.
Miller
who
is the
but
guy
he's
I was
like
thinking
everything.
of.
He's always
You know
a
Dick Miller,
he's
Dave.
always a villain, you know, and he's just that guy.
Yeah.
Wow, the Blue
Phil's
Angels
actually-
are still flying over.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Phil's actually, I would say he even has maybe a more diverse acting portfolio than Warwick Davis. Like all of these roles we've mentioned too are
Oh yeah.
mostly pretty drastically different roles. Whereas Warwick just he played the Leprechaun and then he played other, like Willow and the Leprechaun are his two.
Peter Dinklage just played all kinds of different roles too.
Peter Dinklage is like new gen little person though, where he's got the comedy chops to rise above like just being the dude they cast because he's a little person, you know.
Yeah.
Because yes, him being tiny makes Tyrion Lannister awesome, but it's by far just the tip of the iceberg with Tyrion.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Well, I don't just mean Terry Lannister because I mean he was
but you know what I mean.
he was
That's a
in
good
the
example of,
X-Men.
like,
He was in the X-Men, and he played a fucking prick. You
Oh,
know,
dude, one of my
you
favorite
know,
roles is him in Knights of Badassdom, where he takes
Oh,
the
yeah.
shrooms and he's fucking
Yeah, he's
frying on the
definitely great.
shrooms. He's about to LARP that fucking
He's
demon.
definitely
to
great in
death.
that film too. Yeah, he's definitely a great actor. He's definitely got some acting chops. You know, I
Yeah,
mean,
he's better than Phil and Warwick combined, I would say.
definitely. As much as I love Warwick because you know of who
Oh
he's
yeah,
played.
he'll always Willow and
Um,
fucking Leprechaun will always have him
Not
a secure soft spot in my heart. You know?
no. Him as the Ewok. That's the shit.
He doesn't even say anything is wicked, bro.
He's fucking
just
wicked.
makes noises. Wicked is awesome, but
Wicket is
in
awesome.
terms
To
of
me,
like seeing
he's
Warwick,
Wicket. Everything else is
you know.
secondary. Wicket is number one. But you know how much of Star Wars fan I am, so.
Before we end our tiny person rant, you know who I never got the hype over is Vern Troyer. Like, yes, he's cute as Mini-Me, but that's it. I don't understand. I mean, he got so famous just because he was in Austin Powers. Like,
He was definitely great as in Mini-Me. But yeah, I agree. I mean, other than that, what the hell has he been in?
It's like that little dude in fucking Island of Dr. Moreau. Like, he didn't even do anything else. Yeah. He wasn't even on, at least fucking Vern Troyer was on that sweet reality show where he's like all horny all the time riding around on that mobility scooter. But
I've never seen that
know.
shit. But
I think it was The Surreal Life. He was on one of those seasons. Maybe the one with Flavor Flav.
I don't watch reality TV.
It was just a thing that was on at the time. I feel like it was like what I would watch on VH1 while I was waiting for the Osbournes.
Although there are some hot fucking women in that. There's some, I don't know, some kind of new fantasy island type show or whatever. It's a reality.
Several of whom may have appeared in later Full Moon films.
There's definitely
Dave knows what I'm talking about.
Definitely some hot women in that. Actually, I have watched a couple reality shows. I did watch Osbournes a couple times. I really loved my big fat obnoxious boyfriend, fiance. That show was fucking hilarious. And of course, the Marvel superhero one that Stan Lee did.
I have to be honest. I got into Storage Wars and what was the other one?
I don't know what the fuck that is.
American Pickers.
No, I've seen various episodes of that one, but there was another one.
Oh, I did watch Comic Book Men too because that was fucking great.
There was another one where like they had they had people who were like pack rats and
Hoarders?
Hoarders? Yeah, Hoarders.
Yeah, fucking Hoarders was always a great horror show, man.
I like
cats
Hooters,
under
not
their couches
Hoarders.
and shit. Fucked up.
See, I got into a few of them, and then there was something that it was only like one season, and I think it was called like Haunted Mansion or something like that, and it had a vampire, a naturalist, a voodoo priestess, and this hot chick that was on.
And this was a reality show.
This was a reality show. A blood drinker who called himself a vampire.
Modern day vampires.
That was a hot thing for a minute. I remember at the
That's what it
conventions when
was.
they were selling the blood bags.
Alrighty then.
Drinks and shit.
And it's still on, David.
No,
yeah,
it wasn't that, but I know what you're talking about.
I would watch a reality version of this where it's like Big Brother with the real world, where it's just a bunch of hot 90s and 80s chicks in a house with the two beastmen, and they're like banging them and tricking them, and they don't know which one of the twins they're banging at any given moment.
Like 11 Days with Beasts.
Yeah, that would be
If they had perfect breasts like those women, I'd definitely watch it too.
And instead they get to vote the girls off. That would be it'd be the type of show you could only run in the 90s, but it would be entertaining.
Why don't you bring us into how the film begins?
Oh yeah, maybe we should do that, huh?
Well, at the beginning, you see everybody coming out of what is one of the, looks like one of the statues. They're coming out, and it's, then it goes to the girl. She's doing the painting, and the priest gets a painting from a boy, and he brings it to her.
We don't want no painting. We don't need no painting. We got enough paintings.
He brings it to her next door. She doesn't want to do it, but she says okay because she's going to visit Her friend.
Well, you forgot the whole thing. The priest like, we don't want it and everything. And the other one's like, wait a minute, this frame is 15th century, blah blah blah. And he started talking about the painting. He's like, no, the real painting underneath. And Grace, I'll see. Okay,
Yeah, I kind of thought that was a rude reaction to a gift on the
yeah,
priest's
I like the other.
part.
I like the other priest who was like, oh hey, this is 15th century thing, and blah blah blah. Yeah, the kid was just trying to give a painting. He was trying to be nice, you know. I mean, it was an ugly painting, but you know, still, he's a kid.
Yeah,
They
that's a
were
little
great.
something from those dudes for sure. If they treated me like that when I fucking carried that painting all the way up to that stupid place they were
Right?
at.
Right?
Yeah.
Bash
I'm
him
for
over the
sure
head
like,
with
you
it.
don't want to pay me for it? Well, I'm just going to steal something on the fucking
No, he
way
was
out
just
then.
giving it to them.
I was going to steal
Like-
something anyways. You know?
Like he was trying to give it
They
to
were
them
fucking
free,
rude.
and they were just like, I don't want it. Even
Yeah,
free.
just
It was just like
dismissing it.
it was a slap. It was almost a slap in the face. They were just like, screw you, kid.
We're still restoring stuff we stole during the Crusades. We don't need it, you know.
Right.
Get out of here, dude.
Pretty much.
Okay, now we can establish the painting. Anyways, she says she'll restore it, and she goes to visit her friend who she hasn't seen in years that she
Her
used
best
to
friend.
room with, and goes to the castle. And her friend has inherited this humongous castle, and the girls, while they're getting reacquainted, realize that there is a kind
Sideshow.
of like a sideshow going on outside.
Yep.
So they go to this sideshow, and
Stuffy Noblewoman didn't want to go though.
right, one wanted to go, one didn't want to go, but they went.
Yeah, the friend wanted to go. The first girl we see wanted to go.
And while they lock eyes with the one in the one locks eyes with the one in the mask, one locks eyes with the other one, you know.
I knew he was a twin.
And they watch the show, and then the friend ends up inviting the whole troop to the castle for dinner, and the one who owns the castle finally gives in and invites them all. And while they're at the castle,
Charlie Spradling's character is definitely just like wanting to do some philandering, you know, like, and she's a young woman, you know, living in Europe or whatever to do this arts, you know, program, presumably. So she's trying to have some fun, like most girls
She's
that
the
age
party
are
girl.
doing, you know, and you can really tell that Sherilyn Fenn's character only agrees because she's like, I don't want to know if I would say she's completely a stuffy noble. I mean, she was down to do it at all and then down to invite them back. And then she was definitely looking like at that dude like she was going to fuck him whether they roofied her or not. But, you know, it gets, as we'll get to, it gets a bit more twisted.
She just came across to me as a stuffy and
she's a little bit more uptight, than the Charlie Spradling character. And when she invites him back, it feels more like she's doing it in this sort of hoity-toity, like, oh, I'm the Duchess of the land, so it's my obligation to invite the
right.
It's
like
thing, you know?
It's like she's doing it.
I don't know if I don't know if my nanny will be able to feed so much people on such short notice.
And then they have a feast. It's like holy shit! Like they could feed an army. All the food they have there.
And she's like, I promise I'll have these people out by morning.
It's a real good way to establish the characters and their different lifestyles without going into too much exposition, you know? Once, you know, Tammy gets us up to the point where they realize what has happened to him. Obviously, we'll talk more about that. But there's like a lot of subtle things with the two characters that expertly kind of paint the different types of girls that they are without spending too much time chewing up dialogue over it. You know?
I agree. They're good friends, and they're both pretty girls, but they're both definitely different people. I mean, they're both into art, but they're both definitely different people. Very much so.
Yeah, one's into restoration, and the other.
But well,
skeleton.
she's a painter. Like the other girl said, is she should be an artist because she was the best in their class, and she shouldn't be in restoration. But
The other girl's like a
Yeah.
sculptor. They really missed an
Yeah.
opportunity to do like a nod to the pottery scene in Ghost in this bitch. That would have been funny.
right,
Oh, my love, my
my
darling.
darling,
He definitely hungered for her touch.
I'm good for especially the Beast Man.
Or it's just
So-
Patrick Swayze with the Beastman doing the fucking the pottery.
Unfortunately, the ghost in here is not so sexy.
Yeah.
You didn't find the nanny sexy?
Uh-uh.
I mean, you guys get like I mean, obviously the movie came later. I'm not aware of any like prior adaptations of it. I just know the Leonardo DiCaprio one. But did either of you get a little bit of a Man in the Iron Mask vibe too, with the way they had the one twin like in the
No.
monk robe and the mask?
No.
I mean, it's
Not
A
really.
little
sort of doomed. The nice
I
one
can
is
see
sort
it
of
now you
doomed to
mention
be
it.
constantly hidden. You know.
Now that you mention it, I can. But I think they were hiding him because when they did that coffin trick, one was in the one coffin.
Oh
one
yeah,
was
he's
the
got to
other,
get
I
in
think.
on the gimmick too. But
Yeah,
it's like
but
the nice
I
one, the
think that's
good
more-
one was definitely like relegated to the shadows and the mask
Right.
or whatever.
Right,
Yeah, the other one was not supposed to be recognizable or seen.
right. I knew it was a twin. As soon as I saw the gimmick, I'm
Actually,
like, oh, that is
in
twin.
reality, it was in fact the same person.
Oh, I know, but I know
So-
he was playing. He was
Don't
playing
destroy the
twins.
illusion,
Is
Dave.
what I knew.
That was two dudes. I'm sure of it.
Sometimes I struggled figuring out
Nine
which
times
one
out of
was
10.
which.
9 times out of 10, when there's twins, it's usually the same person playing the same role.
I don't know. I mean, I'd say it's about even. There's
Yeah.
times where they fake it. There's times where they don't. I mean,
I'm not talking about B movies. I'm talking about in general.
yeah, I'm talking in general as well. You know, I mean, you have like obviously like proper twin movies, and then you have ones like Lindsay Lohan and The Parent Trap. Obviously, is done
And
with.
then, of course, you have those
Two
weird
different
TV
girls,
shows
you know.
where they have twins and they're only playing one single girl.
Exactly,
Full House.
that's a lot more common, I
That-
think. Where
That's
it's,
common? Really?
Yeah,
I thought that was
that's-
uncommon.
No, especially with child, like Full House is a great example. With children, it was the
Yeah,
easiest way to
she was
do
the
it.
only one I know of. That's why I know.
Yeah,
it's
you
common.
get around like labor laws and shit by doing it that way. I've definitely heard of several other cases. None that jump immediately to mind because they're not as popular as Full House, but it happens, you know.
It makes
If I
sense.
was to use a kid in a movie, I'd probably want to hire twins so that I could get more shooting time in, because it's
Yeah.
like shit. Otherwise, we have to work this kid like 2 hours a day or something ridiculous like that,
Right.
Makes sense.
Well, there's twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I don't think that counts.
Oh yeah, those guys were seamless. I mean, you could have swapped them out scene for scene. Fucking.
That was a great
Down,
movie.
no
That's
one
a
would've
great movie,
noticed.
but yeah, they're not exactly twins. Not identical twins, anyways.
No, but actually, there was one recent, somewhat recent, with the magician. I think it was Wolverine. Hugh Jackman was played in it. It was he played twins, identical twins,
Oh, did he?
in
That sounds
a
familiar, yeah.
Houdini-like movie.
Kind of.
Are you talking about the Ringmaster?
I think that might be it, maybe.
No, but I forget the name of it. Prestige, the Prestige. That was the name of it.
Okay.
But
Just want to look it up.
I like that movie. That was a good movie.
So, what did you think of the circus itself, or whatever you'd want to call it?
I mean, yeah, it was all right. At first, when he was throwing the knives, I was like, wow, that's not that close. Like, usually, like, when they throw knives, they're, like, really close. The last one was close, but the other two weren't that close, so it was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of a little bit disappointing that it was, like, not as close.
No,
I don't
no,
think
no,
I would have
you
gone
can't.
up there for them to.
Oh, I didn't. I totally
Well,
wouldn't either. And
right,
I'm super brave for that shit. But
you tell me beat me to it. That's not something I would want to
yeah,
Knowing
I
do.
these
totally would not do that
motherfuckers, though,
either.
they probably really had a dude throw knives at her. You know what I mean? So it's, I don't know.
I
I've
mean, I
never really
get it, but
dissected the scene, but it does feel like pretty real, and it's
I
also
mean,
low
they
budget.
could have
So
always done the throw the knife and you see him throw the knife and then you see it stuck in the board. Like he doesn't actually throw it. You know what I'm saying? They could have faked
yeah, but
it.
that
They
wouldn't
could
have
have.
been as dynamic, you know.
Yeah, I think it would have been better though because it would just like all three of the knives should have been like around
You
her
could have
head.
cut it, yeah, to
Like
make it look
like
like it came way closer, you know.
like one knife could have been on the left of her ear, one knife on the right of her ear, and the other one right above her head. You know what I'm saying? Like even cut like a slice of her hair at the top of her head or something. You know, just show how close it was. You know,
Right.
I just think that would have been cooler looking than what they did for that scene.
And then they could have
Honestly.
spun that into her getting even like hotter for the dudes or whatever after.
Yeah.
Like slowing it down and showing the sweat on her breast or something like that.
Breast.
Yeah.
Enunciated it.
Those lovely breasts.
I think it's fine. I mean, you know, in terms of like something I would watch, I definitely would have been bummed if I paid to see it. But if them rolling up on my property and me being able to watch it for free and maybe throw a couple of bits on the stage as a tip, but that's fine, you know.
Yeah, maybe.
It's kind of a bummer things like that don't still exist, like traveling sideshows and circuses. And
Yeah,
whatnot.
it wasn't the best sideshow. I mean, it wasn't all that, you know. And then they're talking about this beast thing, and all it was just a strong man who opened up and broke a chain. I'm like, that wasn't all that impressive either. So, I'm like, any
Maybe
fucking
if
wrestler
they
can
had-
do that, bro.
Maybe if they had elaborated on the carnival aspect of it a little bit more to show how show the unique people that were part of the carnival, you know, just to show a little bit of that side of the life. I could see that happening, you know, just to show that they were in fact a larger carnival than that which they performed, you know.
Well, it wasn't. It was just that one little wagon or whatever, and one little thing, you know. There wasn't that much of a show really, and the show they did have was okay. I mean, it wasn't like Mo said. I mean, for free, I guess it was alright. But if I paid for it, I want my money back.
A little bit like, I don't know, because I've always got this vibe too when I watch Meridian that like maybe in the original conceptualization of it, it was supposed to be set in more olden times, but then Charles thought, you know, let's make it contemporary just to make it like more hip or, you know, modern, right? Like if it was the type of, even just it showing up like that, I mean, I don't know that they really still had traveling wagon carnivals like that in 1990, bro. Like it would have made more sense, like, you know, 100 years fucking earlier, you know.
Maybe in Italy, I don't know. Maybe in Italy they still did. I don't know, but
Maybe
have around there.
it just definitely does, you know.
I mean,
it has
they
that,
were
like,
definitely
feeling
they were like they already mentioned they're like gypsies. Yeah, basically were gypsies. I mean, exactly the same thing as gypsies, and right down to the wolf man.
I know in Milwaukee we have something similar.
Well, like I said, you know,
the Dead Man's Carnival is what
Italy or you know, Milwaukee Fantasyland.
Well, but I mean, even then, like, they're probably rocking up to like an actual town or a city, not some random castle in the countryside that by 1990, of course, it only has like fucking 5 people probably in the entire building, you know? But back in like, you know, the late 1800s or something, there still might have been like a full fucking population of people at that castle to enjoy the show. I don't even know where all those people came from that watched it. Where'd they all show up from? Like,
no idea.
The countryside.
I guess, you know, it
where
works.
all
I
the
mean, it
cars?
doesn't. It's not the type of thing that takes you completely.
Where were
out
all
of the
their
movie.
cars? Did they walk there? It didn't look like it was very easy to get
Yeah, I
to.
didn't see any like lawn parking off to the side where everyone, you know, I don't know.
Guess we're nitpicking a little bit there.
Well, it's just, I was curious what you guys thought of it, and if anyone else picked up on that. It like is the type of story that could have worked if it was set 100 years earlier, even, and maybe would have even made slightly more sense.
I think it would have been better if it was
areas.
set 100 years earlier. But
Yeah, I mean,
but we wouldn't have the friend looking like an 80s hot chick, so there is that.
there you go.
So there's the downside. But although I do like the fancy dress, I love that red dress with the stuffy girl. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that red dress was hot. Now the necklace was gaudy. I was like, oh, that necklace was gaudy as hell. But that dress was hot. I like Gothic, old dresses like that. Shit.
So just to say something about the scenery that you see with the statues and all that, that is actually called the Sacro Bosco. It's called Park of the Monsters, or also named Garden of Bomarzo.
Yeah, just more and more layers of awesome to it right there. That's fucking great.
Yeah, it is.
Mannerist monumental complex located in Bomarzo in the province of Viterbo.
Mannerist. It's like a manor. I don't know what the fuck that means, but I like it.
In northern Lazio, Italy.
Yeah, Italy and Romania were their jam back in the day, as far as Full Moon, anyways. Sure, it was all to do with tax breaks and connections Charlie had to get him into these locations and things like that.
Yeah,
They didn't fuck around. They would like full on move into these castles during the productions too. So I can imagine it having. It seems like a lot of these have like a crazy ass summer camp vibe to them. Only you were in like an Italian castle where there might have been real vampires or fucking some shit back in the day. Especially subspecies. I don't know if I would have been chill with like living in war-torn Romania, hanging out in vampire castles the whole time while making.
I would have.
I would have loved
It's
it.
sketchy, bro.
I would have gone.
I would have gone. Fuck yeah.
I'd have gone maybe late 90s. I don't know about when they did subspecies and there's still like bullet holes and everything and resistance fighters and shit. Like, I don't know. And Mandroid, those were sketchy too.
Well,
Mandroid and Invisible.
Resistance fighters, that's something different. Vampires I can deal with. Resistance fighters.
Yeah, it was like
No.
fresh after they had been like liberated from communism or whatever.
Well, okay.
So
Well, if it's after them, I'm good. It's fine. As long as it's after. As long as not during.
That's why you go to a castle like that, because they're gonna probably be too afraid of the folklore. They won't go near the castle.
Exactly. But anyways, let's go. Let her go back to the story. Kind of went off again.
yeah,
Tammy, it's your show.
on
So
track.
they were all sitting there having a nice feast, and we
Feast
see
for the beast.
different images and stuff narrated because they're all drinking and everything, and then they put something in the wine.
One more toast.
One more toast, and that's when the girls definitely start seeing different images, and the one gets carried off, the other one is in
Sees
La La
images
Land.
of herself naked, or at least
Yes.
topless.
And then so the one gets carried off, and she gets romanticized.
Stripped
And-
naked.
Yes. And that's when we realize that there are two,
Wow.
because
Spuda-
the one brother leaves and the other one comes in.
Already knew there
Switch
was
it,
there
man.
was-
He gets her all like
He
tantalized.
gets her all ready.
Wait, actually, Krol, what part of this scene did you find the Spudao?
When he unbuckled the bra and her tits fell out. Wow.
Spudao.
But that was usually an action thing, but those tits were so nice. That was
Yeah, breast
Yeah.
milk is always nice.
And while the one brother is with the one girl, the other one goes to the other one.
Now, I was very disappointed when the other brother walked in and she had the blanket over her tits. Don't cover those babies up. But then we got to see the friends' tits, and they were just as good.
And then we see the love making, and the one turns into the beast.
That was kind of cool, and he's still fucking her and shit. And
Yeah, it's one of the gnarliest scenes maybe in '90s horror history. That beast sex. I mean,
and if it looks at any bit familiar, people, Bram Stoker's Dracula, it's pretty much the same suit that they used for the wolf. And when I saw that scene, it made me think of the wolf in Bram Stoker's Dracula scene.
Yes.
So, that's definitely a little connection there. So.
Yeah, they just did a little earnest, scared, stupid action on it, like they did with the killer clowns, and kind of modified it a bit so that it wasn't obviously the same wolf's or beast suit. But
yeah, it definitely reminded me of it. So, yeah.
So then the next morning, the girls, the one that's the head of the household, is telling her nanny that she thinks something bad
happened.
No, man, well, they have a very telling conversation before that, though, where she comes out, like, and her friend, the Charlie Spradlin character is, like, leaving. And,
it's like, I'm so sorry.
Sherilyn Fenn is like, we should, like, say something about this. Like, something happened, obviously. And the Charlie Spradlin character is like, it's just kind of whatever, like, let's just fucking drop it, basically. And so you can tell, like, her being the more party chick, she's had this type of shit happen to her before.
And she was
whereas for Sherilyn Fenn, this is a shocking, traumatic thing, and I'm sure it is for the Charlie Spradlin character too. But the difference in their lifestyle is very apparent there too.
But the thing is with that is like, okay, so you could tell that they were somewhat drugged.
It's tragic,
but those women, like, they weren't saying no. They were like into the kissing, and they weren't like pushing them away. Like, I guess you could call it rape, but they were totally into it. So, I mean, maybe
it's fully rape. I mean, they got roofied and taken advantage of.
Right, but I mean,
I still stand by that they look like they were going to do it anyways. But
was the drug
they roofied them beforehand?
Was the drugs actually making them completely change their mind? Like no.
I mean, Sherilyn Fenn, I think, cries during part of the whole exchange.
Oh, she does.
Yeah,
she does tear up, and the brother tells her, "Oh, don't cry," and he's like, "Make love to me" or whatever, and love me. Oh, he loves me, and then she just grabs him and kisses him and shit. Like, so it's. That's what I'm saying.
It's a fine line there, and I think it teeters on the
like a rapey like scene at all. It totally.
I mean, I'm sure most of those girls were probably going to suck Bill Cosby's dick too, but you can't just be drugging girls and like doing that. I mean, he probably could have got his dick sucked on the Jell-O pudding alone, but he decided to take it to that Meridian level.
Well, women want to taste his pudding pop, so
it's again, if you're arguing were they into it or not, that's debatable, but it's like definitely crosses the line into sexual assault when you introduce like foreign substances into it.
But we don't know exactly what they gave them. Like, we don't have any idea what it was.
Clearly something. She was zoinked, dude. And that whole scene where fucking Phil Fondacaro like chucks that fucking pitcher into that mirror is one of my favorite shots of the whole movie. Like that for some reason, in the scene where they're slow-mo walking out of the mouth of that statue at the beginning and shit is like some of my favorite imagery in Meridian.
Yeah, that mouth was very cool again.
Regarding the fact that one of them ended up falling in love with one of the brothers, then maybe she did want it even before it happened.
Yeah, but I mean, there's also arguments to be made about like almost a Stockholm syndrome type of a thing, stuff like that. I mean, it's very gray area. It's ambiguous and as to the morality, but definitely leaning on the side of this was kind of fucked up, which makes it a twisted love story,
I mean, if you look it up, they tell you about the movie. The movie's not. So 2 women get raped, and it's like the first thing you read, and I guess in a way, but it definitely doesn't feel like they're typical like rape type scene. It just doesn't.
Well, that's what makes
Yeah,
it
that's
interesting,
what.
man. I mean, it's not like they were forcibly held down, and they were taken advantage of, though, for sure.
Yes,
on
they were
some
taken
level,
advantage
you know?
of. But I wouldn't. But again, like we said, like both women definitely seemed like they already wanted it. Like they were already like.
I mean, the
like,
one brother does handcuff.
That's later on, though. We're
Yeah,
talking about
later
the
on.
first. We're talking about the first scene.
It's one of those
That's
things.
when
I mean,
that's
it's
when it got kind of rapey when he pushes her down and handcuffs her. And he's basically going to have his way with her, and then the brother comes in as the beastman and takes him out. But yeah, he was totally gonna rape her then. That was definitely
it's a
but it never
prevalent
happened
element in the film. You
because
know,
the
I mean,
beastman
it's
stopped it. So he stopped it because he acted
even
like
initially
brother.
the fact that they probably could have gotten laid consensually and still chose to roofie them makes it like more sinister. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, this is how these dudes want this to go down, or at least the one dude.
The
And
evil
Phil
brother.
Fondacaro certainly seems to be enjoying himself, so it's at least somewhat implied that maybe he gets to take a turn when they're done, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like all of a sudden the brothers that have the sex with the women. It's like where the hell are everybody else? The women they had the Phil Garrett, like they're all just kind of disappeared.
I guess what I'm getting at is,
They're
you
still
can't just
feasting,
roofie girls,
getting
kids.
drunk.
If you're gonna take some ketamine or whatever, do it together consensually, and then fuck. Don't put it in their fucking wine. This is not cool. Yeah, I
But
don't know, man.
yeah,
Really,
Tammy and I asked Tammy, well, would you consider that rape? Before we got into that scene, and she was like, well, it depends on what they were given. So
Exactly, like we don't.
you can't
I mean,
spike people with anything, bro. I mean, if it's a mind-altering substance, it's gonna make them more malleable to whatever, and you are aiming.
but they
at,
were already
that's
there.
dangerous.
They were already malleable.
1000%.
So.
But if they were given something that just made them more relaxed,
I mean, drinking the alcohol.
more lovey-dovey.
Drinking
You
the
can't
alcohol
date rape
alone would
people,
do that.
guys. You can't just dose people with shit.
Right, but drinking the alcohol.
Okay, let's put it this way. If I was to put something in your drink that made you fucked up and made you make maybe decisions you wouldn't make otherwise, even if I don't fuck you as another dude, that is still a super huge violation of your consent, of your, ability to make informed choices on your own.
Right, but you can argue that the wine can do that on his own. Like
that's what I was getting at. If
like
they were
the wine does
could,
that shit on
that's
its
not
own.
how date rape works. I mean,
So
you're
wine
consenting
could've-
to drink wine with these dudes.
But
Cheryl and
the-
Ben is fully saying like, all right, you guys, let's wrap this up basically. And he's like, one more toast. And then that's when they roofie them. So I don't think there's any question about whether or not the girls were roofied with something.
Well, the other girl was like, it's only midnight. Like we could still go. Like she.
That doesn't mean she was
midnight.
gonna randomly fuck the dude at
Oh,
the
she
fucking
totally wanted to
table,
fuck the dude.
presumably
Well,
with all the other guys
he
watching.
said,
You know what I mean?
we don't want to dishonor the host. That's what his thing was.
Yeah, there's no question. You just can't give people controlled substances without their knowledge. Whether or not they were going to fuck you or not becomes a question that is irrelevant once you secretly dose them with something to aid it.
Because there's always another party that after everything is done is going to find something wrong with what happened. Later
Not
on.
necessarily. If they'd all just got liquored up and then decided to bang, and they woke up the next day like, oh, that was a bad decision, maybe, but I didn't wake up and was, because clearly they knew that they had been drugged the next morning too, so it was like something that they didn't remember most.
Yeah, but they didn't remember being fucked. That's
exactly. So, I mean, by definition, they were roofied without their consent and taken advantage of. Whether or not they were going to fuck consensually before that, it becomes a sexual assault at the point where you sneak a substance into their drink, It's just not cool. So just don't do it. If you're already going to get that, if you're already going to get the ass, just go ahead and get it normally. I don't know. Because they probably could have. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you guys there. Those girls seemed like they were into it. At least Charlie Spradling. I don't know if Sherilyn Fenn would have hung out because she seemed like she was like ready to.
She was
call it at night.
stealthy, but
Well-
she was definitely giving him the eye. Like she wanted.
Yeah, she would have banged
but-
him eventually. I don't know
But
about that.
I think
night,
she
but
was
it
more like
gonna
wanting to like maybe date him a little bit, like see him a couple times first before she gives it out, type thing.
Yeah,
Well,
she definitely had those fuck me eyes on her. That's for sure.
True.
And see, the thing that makes it really drives it home is that scene afterwards the next morning when they talk, and Charlie Spradling's kind of like, dude, this type of shit just happens. It's whatever. Like, let's not make a big deal out of it. And that fucking.
Well, she
It's
did
sad.
say sorry twice.
Yeah, she's basically like, she feels almost responsible for that it
Cause-
happened.
yeah,
But you can just
she
tell
invited
by
her
the way
back.
she plays it that it had happened to her character before, you know, and then that reflects in the whole difference in their lifestyle. So it's really expertly written in a subtle way that doesn't. Again, they tell a lot right there in that scene without really jaw jacking too much, you know.
Like we are.
We're on a good track right here because basically we just get into the ghost story shit, I think, at this point.
Well, Tammy, where are we?
Well, the one is going back to work on the painting, and the other one is talking to the nanny, and that's when she starts spilling the beans about the whole story.
Not yet. She's talking to the nanny, but she doesn't know the story yet about the aunt. You talk about the aunt and stuff.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's much later.
Well, she goes to work on her sculpture, and while
Yeah.
she's working on the sculpture,
And then she sees the ghost in the bed bleeding to death, and she doesn't know it's a ghost.
nope, not yet. And she's trying to tell the nanny that she saw this, and the nanny says, "Well, that's why your father sent you away."
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that till right now, but there was like, I guess she was always seeing ghosts in that motherfucker or some shit, and it had been a problem because you know she didn't necessarily. It wasn't like she just inherited this castle out of nowhere. She actually kind of grew up there for a long time, because she's super real familiar with the nanny and everything because she basically raised her when she was a kid and all that stuff. So
And her
she's
mother
got a
basically,
history with. Go ahead, sorry.
and her mother basically died in this place, and her father swears that he saw, you know, images too.
Oh yeah, and it
Which
turns
we
out
found
they
out.
were probably
Well,
all
yeah,
getting
he saw his
Cosby's by
sister
these
and
beast men
They
for
never
many
explained what happened to
generations.
her mother.
They just hang out in between time to come out and Bill Cosby this family or something.
Well, it was
Eventually we
it was
found
her
out that it
father's
was-
sister that the we
Yeah, that was the ghost was her aunt. They never actually say what happened to her mother. The only thing they say about her mother was an American. It's the only thing we know about the mother. And I guess our dad must be dead. I mean, we don't
we
see
did get that these brothers have been like doing the same thing for like
hundreds of years.
hundreds of years, which I think
Yeah.
you said 400 years.
Yeah,
But we
they
don't find that
they don't
out
look that
until
old.
the nanny goes to tell her the story.
That's a weird thing.
No,
Usually
when the nanny
vampires
tells her the
they
story.
have that, but don't usually deal with werewolves. It's kind of a nice little twist.
Yeah, we get at first kind of like, you know, the whole trying to come to grips with what happened and then the ghost story bits. And I will say the movie does a good job of like pulling off the scenes where she's like running down the hallway and the ghosty stuff. Like it feels legit. You know, it doesn't feel like it's just plugged in there. They took pains to make that still have like a really cool atmospheric vibe to it, you know. I don't even like ghost movies and shit, and I like the ghost stuff and
Yeah, I love ghost movies, but I liked the way they added it into it. There wasn't a ghost story, but this kind of added the into it, and it just made it cooler. It didn't take
yeah,
away
it's such
from
a
the movie.
foreign element
And
to
then-
these kind of movies. You know?
Yeah, it was. I mean, the first ghost was kind of like made sense, but then the whole twist that the nanny's a ghost was like Sixth Sense. Like I said, it was just like a
Somebody
sense.
had to
Like, oh shit, the nanny's dead.
Somebody had to keep on protecting her.
Well, the thing about the nanny is
Who the fuck cooked dinner then?
She introduced her friend to the nanny.
Who
So
served the
our
feast?
friend probably
How'd
goes
that fucking
too.
go down?
So it
Well,
wasn't
yeah.
just her. Because
Is she in there making the fucking the cutlery
when
and
she
the
goes and-
dinnerware come to life like some Beauty and the Beast shit, and they're all dancing around making dinner with her? Like,
Yeah, when she goes and makes that confession, and that priest it goes and tells her, "Oh, you mean that English woman? She's been dead
She
for
died 6 months ago. I
And
did
she's
the
like,
service
"What?"
myself. I'd be freaked out too. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
yeah, it's a rad. It's such a rad addition to it, man. I mean, and again,
It
I'm
really
not
is.
usually hyped on ghost shit, but Meridian adds it into a film that it really kind of almost has no business being in, but it fits so perfectly.
Exactly, I agree with that. And as much as I love ghost films, it just like if you told me, oh, there's this werewolf story, and then there's ghosts in there, I'd be like, what? Like just kind of,
Yeah,
it's
you
kind of
might
weird, you know.
You
But,
might be kind of like, oh, that just sounds dumb, but
right,
when you see the way it's all pieced together in this, it's actually pretty expert.
I think that's part of the reason I like this movie so much is you've got so many different elements that do.
We're
Come
just
together
missing the
nicely.
vampires.
You got legends, and you got this legend, you got this curse, you got this werewolves, you got the ghost, and everything. And it's
you
just
forget about the little backstory that was given of the land. Apparently,
Oh, I don't forget about it.
Wizard.
The wizard turned his enemies into stone. That's where we get the stone statues from. I fucking love that.
I think that's why I like it. Is it's got so many of those, so many different,
I agree.
And of course, it's got the sexual and the eroticism and all that.
And the boobs.
That wizard made him hard. You know what I mean? And they weren't the only ones.
Yeah, they were walking along the path, and she was talking about the apparently there was a wizard that had turned all the people to stone or some shit like that.
Or curse. Well,
as one does.
The wizard cursed the werewolf men. The wizards are the ones that cursed them.
Well, we sort of get a story from the one brother that his father actually cursed him for falling in love with the lady of the castle.
You fall in love with her, you slip a little fucking abracadabra in her drink, you know what I'm saying? Because I'd disown my fucking son if he did that shit too. Of course, you're right. Curse you.
Both brothers got cursed.
No, these are jokes. Actually, as much twisted sort of sinisterness as there is with Meridian, a big part of the charm to it is that it is handled so like tenderly and kind of beautiful. You know what I mean? It is a great example of a twisted love story, man. I can't think of too many others that really fit the bill for that with horror that actually I get those vibes from. Maybe Return of the Living Dead Part 3. Where the chick like is slowly turning into a zombie, but the dude still loves her, and but that takes it on a different body horror kind of plane. This sticks more to the traditional Gothic fantasy horror vibe, and I really, really dig it, man. I mean, I think that this would have been a prime candidate for like some comic books to be made of it or something. And I'm surprised Full Moon never really tried to.
Well, and it does.
Market more, other than
it
that,
does
maybe they
stick
were
with the traditional werewolf story, where the only person that can kill or break the curse is someone who in fact loves the beast.
You know an awful lot about this, Dave. Our theories about you being a wolf man are getting more convincing every moment. Why are you so intimately familiar with this, David? How old are you? That's what I want to know.
Are you 400 years old, Dave?
There actually, I would say, were some elements of a twisted love story, Dark Angel, The Ascent, although maybe not as much as here.
I'd agree.
Oh, there's definitely a love story in that one. He falls in love with the dude, and he falls in love with her. And...
You know now that now that I mentioned that, I kind of feel like there isn't enough movies about a human falling in love with a demon. All we get is vampires and werewolves, not so many
Well,
stories
who the fuck
where.
falls in love with ghosts? Poor ghosts, they don't get no love.
I don't know. There's a couple of bangable
That
ghosts I've seen
too.
in time, but
Well, if you think about it, there is a movie called The Others
yeah.
where they're ghosts and they don't know they're ghosts, and there is
I
a
love that one. It's one of my
there,
I've
favorites.
seen that movie.
there is a husband that shows up, and you know that she loves him and he loves her, but you
She
know,
loves him, he loves
so
her.
there are ghost stories out there that do have ghosts loving the living.
Oh yeah, and wasn't it like Scary Movie 2 or 3
Well, then
where
again,
that lady
Ghost.
bangs the ghost?
I
So
guess
I
in
mean, it is
Ghost,
fully possible.
she kind of loves Patrick Stewart, Patrick Swayze's character.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's some ghost
Oh.
banging in that too, pretty much.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get explicit with it because I think I don't know, Ghost was maybe rated like PG-13 or something.
Well,
like
it was
that,
actually it was Whoopi Goldberg, so you know.
Well, it's
there's
not
ghosts
really a
and
ghost
They
lesbian.
didn't really have lesbian scenes back then that much,
There's an
even though
interracial
there was-
lesbian ghost scene.
there was an interracial
Talk
lesbian
about
ghost scene,
progressive.
but she was in a white male.
And Demi Moore has a bowl cut. I mean,
It's not really a ghost movie, but I really on the, a weird concept of things was Lady Hawk. Remember
Yes, yeah,
that
Oh,
was
that's a
that
great
one was
movie.
love it. Was Tammy with us when we covered that for my birthday? I think I was before she started getting on, but yeah, Lady Hawk was one of my first
I wasn't there
like,
for it either.
commissions for the show was Lady Hawk, and I forget what we did as the second part of the double feature.
That was a great movie.
Lady Hawk was.
It's a great
What was
story.
it?
I forget.
Yeah, it was a good fucking double feature though, but Lady Hawk was the highlight I think for all of us of that one because it's just such a good movie, dude. What were you don't remember Lady Hawk, Krol?
I've said like 4 times it was a great movie.
Oh, well, I was talking, so so I didn't hear you.
Why-
But,
why-
yeah,
why
it's
would you
awesome.
think that?
Rutger Hauer, Michelle Pfeiffer, can't go wrong with that.
It's a
No,
great
that-
story.
Yeah,
So where are we?
I'd like to incorporate something from it into like D&D at some point, but I don't know how I'm gonna work that. Everyone's related, so it'd get weird. You know what I mean?
You can meet some NPCs that have the story.
Well, I
guess.
think we're about where the one girl is discovering more of the painting,
Yeah.
while the other one is discovering more of the castle. And she came across the necklace and the dress, and then she had
Gaudy
a
necklace.
vision of the wall opening.
God, I love that too. It almost reminds me, it's like almost a little Hellraiser-ish with the wall
Oh, it
opening.
did.
And, it's such a cool shot. There's so many cool like imagery. Well, that's largely, again, the movie went a lot more for imagery and atmosphere than it did for like heavy dialogue and stuff, which works in its favor. But like Boris also pointed out, leaves some exposition to be desired. There's certain areas of it that could have benefited from being explained more, but I think that makes the movie more fun to watch because you can just watch it and sort of fill in the blanks with your own imagination, kind of a thing. I really love how they do that simultaneously because they could have made this movie drag like a motherfucker if they didn't do it kind of simultaneously with all of that stuff with her, Charlie Stradling doing the painting thing and what's her ass, discovering the ghost stuff. Imagine this movie if they were one character instead of two, and then the movie would be like probably obscenely long and boring,
Well, yeah, we get the moment where the good beastie comes and basically tells her kill him, and she says I can't, and stuff like that. And I think we also get a moment where she sees the same image that of the woman that she had seen before, which was, I think, her mother,
Her aunt.
her aunt. Okay,
It was her
And
father's sister.
I don't think at this time she realizes until he says that there's two of them. You know, because she still tells the nanny that sometimes he's nice and sometimes he's not. When the nanny's explaining the thing to her, and the nanny's like, "Well, what does that tell you?" And you know, because she hasn't really understood that there's two of them yet.
I think if this movie was set 100 years before, she might have answered with, "That's just how husbands are." You know? That's probably a good thing that it was set in the 90s.
Yeah, well, they say that most men are beasts, but they took it to a new level on this one.
Really, I haven't heard them say that all men are beasts.
You've never heard that? You've never heard that?
I heard them say all men are pigs, but haven't heard
No,
beasts.
man,
Well,
yeah.
same difference. I was about to say, "You sweet summer child, Boris." The world is.
I've heard all men are assholes, so I don't know.
That's all the same thing. You know, it's just different variations of the same.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing.
Well, there is
there
is a biblical story of a king who became a beast, called King Nebuchadnezzar. So there is a werewolf story in the Bible.
I told you the Bible has some nice stories in it.
Which book is it where he becomes something like that? I actually did read the Bible, but I can't remember that.
I don't know what book it was.
I don't know, dude. Sunday school was a long time ago for me, and I'm pretty sure they weren't talking about any beast sex in there. So,
I've read
I hope
the Bible
Nebuchadnezzar was having some beast sex, but that would be really cool if this was connected to like some old random biblical story. I mean, it's just the type of shit that Charles Band and those dudes would take and twist into something like this. You know?
Yeah, I do remember that kid, but I don't remember the werewolf part.
There needs to be more werewolves in the Bible. Let's rewrite it. And vampires.
There needs to be some vampires.
I'm pretty sure Jesus was a vampire.
And demon. More demons.
Oh.
I know he was a Babylonian king.
Yes.
Maybe he wasn't, though, because Dracula does say, "I never drink wine," and we all know Jesus was turning fucking water into wine and shit.
Of course, the son of the dragon.
Jesus was a witch.
Yeah, or some type of random ghoul. You know?
Jesus was a witch.
Cave. Fucking, it's awesome.
Oh, it's in the book of Daniel, supposedly. I guess that slipped my mind.
Well, and there's very much with the two brothers that whole classic idea of like the good and evil being sort of one and the same, or both sides of the same coin type of a thing. Like there's that whole age-old idea of that really woven into the DNA of this movie with those two dudes, and sort of the never-ending, sort of eternal struggle between those two things, you know. So
well, both cursed with the same curse, and
right.
One cannot be alive without the other, kind of thing. So
one wants to end it and the other doesn't. The good one wants to end it.
I do like the line that the one says, "You're the beast, brother. You're the beast."
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like the line when they're like,
which makes me
like,
think that
he's like, you love me. I love my love for you. And he's like, and also your hate. And he goes, yes, that too. And just the way he looks, like he just looks like he hates him at that moment. Like he despises him.
Yeah.
But also loves him at the same time. It's
the Cain and Abel aspect of him.
Right. Yeah, you could see some parallels, you know. And I'm not.
I definitely thought of Cain and Abel.
I'm not a religious person, you know, so I just basically do look at the Bible or things like that as like rich source material for rad inspiration for all types of things.
Like I said, there's some good stories in the Bible.
Like if I
I've
was to
always
sit
said that.
down and try to write like some type of old Gothic, even though it's set in the 90s, this is very much like a classic sort of Gothic fairy tale type story. You know
Oh,
what
it
I mean?
totally is.
I would probably have like copy of Brothers Grimm and a copy of the Bible right there as like inspiration to fuck with while I was doing some shit like this, you know, just because they're so rich, such rich sources of awesome shit to pull from it, you know.
Well, actually, yeah, the very reason why I read the Bible was because I wanted to be able to notice such references in the movies and
Oh,
TV
yeah.
shows
Or
that
use
I
them for
watch.
your own designs, man. I mean, people can talk shit on religion all they want, but the Bible, in terms
I,
of being like,
I basically read it so I could tell people why it wasn't my religion, why I didn't agree with it, and why I didn't believe in it. Like I said, I probably know more about Christian religion than most Christians.
Well, there is a
or
lot
read
of
UFO sightings in there too.
But like I said, there's a lot of good stories in the Bible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
some of it I
yes.
think is based on like true experience. Like a lot of those UFO sightings are pretty spot on to modern UFO sightings. If you read like, you know, you read them in a modern context, and it's like I think some of this shit in there is probably fantastical spins put on observation. Without getting too much into that debate, though, it's like if you need something to use as inspiration for crazy stories, you know, all those old religious texts are great for that. What's that one that they always talk about from India? I don't remember the name of it, but it's like their Bible, basically the Hindu Bible, and it's got all types of crazy shit about like flying fortresses and sky battles and awesome stuff in there.
Actually, I think I recently heard of that one, but I'm not. I can't remember the title either.
And, you know, it's probably full of weird shit too, like some octopus prince with 6 arms banging a bunch of
yeah, I mean,
virgins or something.
their
You know what I
goddess
mean?
has like one of the goddess has like 6 arms. Like I think they're, and then the other god flies on a flying falcon.
Oh, they've got hundreds of them. Yeah, those Indian gods. It's nuts.
Oh, I know. I think it's pretty cool.
Bhagavad Gita is
When you
that
have the cow
what
god.
it is?
Yeah, the Bhagavad Gita or whatever it is. They talk about it on Ancient Aliens a bunch, and those guys are mostly full of shit. But as like a fun religious text, it seems like it's full of a bunch of awesome, fantastical stuff. You know?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that hard to see this as some type of biblical story about good and evil and like lust and love and shit that could be in some type of a Bible, regardless of what religion. You know what I mean? It's got that old classic. They really nailed that old classic fairy tale ghost story type vibe to all of it that, you know, really helps it out in that area.
Interesting.
Even the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is one of the earliest, is when Gilgamesh jilted a potential lover because she had turned her previous mate into a wolf.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that before too.
There's also I know that there's also an earlier French story. I forget. I think it was called The Beast of Jabardon or something like that.
Oh, that dude that they thought was like a real werewolf or whatever.
Something like that.
He supposedly had like a belt that would turn him into a wolf or some shit. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
These are earlier lycanthropy stories.
I think that's why, like, a lot of I think France is where a lot of the lycanthropy shit, like, in terms of at least folklore, originated, like the loup garou and stuff like that. There's really cool story, and I think it's Tales from the Crypt or Creepy, where it's like an old French werewolf tale, and it's touching back on that stuff. And that's actually where I learned about that, was through fucking some random horror comic from like the 50s, you know. But cool stuff, dude. It's, I guess, heavy tradition up in French Canada. Thankfully, I was never born there because I would have hated to have grown up being afraid that there was real werewolves out there. But I think I probably would have just found it awesome, you know?
I see a band rising.
Well, Tamara, carry on.
Yes.
Yeah. More beast love, please. Lead us through.
Let's see, where were we?
We're basically at the, she's figuring out about the whole ghost situation, and the other girl's figuring out about the painting. So near the end, ish.
So I think we're at to where she figures out that the nanny is a ghost, and she goes back to that room, and she decides, because the nanny finishes telling her the story, and she puts the dress on, which she does look very pretty in the dress,
She looks hot.
and the pendant, and she decides that she is going to take care of this once and for all, and goes through the wall, and she comes across who she thinks is the good brother, but he tricks her and he is not.
That'd have been funny if he was just like, haha, roofied, and he just blows like some dust into her fucking eyes off the palm of his hand.
Yeah, instead they went with the rapey scene. Whole,
Yeah.
handcuffing
I just
her.
think that, like, haha, roofied would have been fucking funny, dude.
I agree.
Blow it into her fucking eyes like some type of magician.
Well, yeah, magician. So, yeah.
And while she's basically arguing with him, the friend realizes she's finished seeing the painting for what it is, and she's on her way to the castle to help the friend. And then they end up outside, and he's going to kill her in front of the brother because he can't let her kill the one, because that'll end the curse.
And the friend has uncovered the painting, so while she's uncovered this whole scenario, she ends up going to.
I just said that.
You
Yeah.
did. Were you listening?
Anyways.
Well, actually, there was one thing I didn't understand about that painting. So it was discovered that the two of them were on that painting, but still, who made the painting? When? What were they?
Well,
What was the point of it?
That's the whole thing. No one really knows. It was just kind of a neat thing that they put in the film. That was like, it was on the painting of things that hadn't even that were happening now. So where did that painting come from? And like Mo said, he thinks it's kind of like an older version of the noblewoman came and gave the painting, like from the future type thing. Like it doesn't get explained, but it's just like kind of a neat thing that you can form your own opinion about where
it does get explained that the nanny hid the painting from her and tried to protect her from it, and knowing anything about it, so that maybe, just maybe, she might be able to avoid the situation at any given point in time. They tried to hide things from her, so that
right. That's why she was sent back to the States and everything, because they tried to. The nanny said it more than once. They tried to hide this from her.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't really know. Is it some prophecy come true type situation? I mean, it's heavily implied that through the wall is like this place out of time kind of space where the carnival hides out, and these guys are like been around for hundreds of years or whatever, at least a really long time.
Yeah, it looks like they're open again.
But now that she's the woman of the castle is the thing. They were trying to hide it from her because until she actually did become the woman of the castle, that the whole thing is based on who is the woman of the castle. It's,
Right. So it's almost
that's
like
what
their
started
family
off.
has an ongoing curse as well that happens to be these beastmen kind of a thing. So there's like, again, that whole duality that they're doing with the brothers is also kind of going on with, these women of the house, as you put it.
It's kind of a circle of life. Like each generation
they leave it
has had to deal with this.
Purposely
generation
ambiguous. And I think
Slayer.
it helps maybe. And
And right now she's kind of like the last lady of the castle, so it's come to light.
Why is she
Again. Everything they were trying to shield her from has come to light because now she is the lady of the castle.
Right, right.
So as you said, yeah, it's come like full circle.
And what happens is fairly different than what we expect, to be honest. Because what we expect is that, that she, in fact, was supposed to shoot him. But instead, because the beast loved her, he shot him.
The brother.
The brother.
It would have been funnier if he shot her. That'd have been good stuff.
Well, he goes to shoot the brother, and the little dude starts to whip him, and he only gets to shoot his hand so that he can't stab her. And then the friend is the one that ends up giving him back the crossbow, and he shoots the kill shot to the brother.
Yeah, it'd have been funny if he just William Telled her ass and accidentally nailed her right in the forehead.
Although that makes me wonder. I mean, he even before this ending, he didn't quite like his brother. He was constantly in conflict with him. So if he was able to kill him at that point, what stopped him from just killing him earlier?
Because he still loved his brother, I think.
Yeah, there's that bond. I mean,
at that point, it was a matter of it's either his love or his brother, and at that point,
I'd like to crossbow my brother half of the time, but I'd hesitate to do it for sure.
Which brother are you talking about?
My little brother. My older brother's fine. Also, he doesn't live here, so I don't have to deal with him. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be that bond, even if your brother does shitty things. I mean, it's kind of like that whole parental bond too, like where Jeffrey Dahmer's dad still loved him, even though he ate people because it was his little boy. Sometimes the people that you fucking raise or the people you grow up with turn out to be ugly pieces of human shit, But there's always most of the time that familial bond. That's going to keep you somewhat close, I mean, if my brother ate people, I'd probably still go visit him in prison. I'd let him know I'm not a piece of shit that I thought he was, but I would still go visit him in prison, Yeah. It's just familial ties shit. I think this movie definitely deserved, I don't know about a sequel, but I could have seen a prequel to Meridian working really, really, really well.
Speaking of which, why is the movie actually called Meridian to begin with? How does that title come into play anywhere?
Okay, I could be wrong on this. It's been a while since grade school or since I've had to look at maps or anything like that, but isn't the prime meridian like the dead center of things? So I think it's also a play on that duality theme that's in the movie. It's like I could be totally wrong.
Meridian.
I feel like it has to do with like a line between reality and whatever. That's probably like the ancient definition.
The definition of a meridian is a great circle on the surface of the earth passing through the poles.
Yeah, the poles and the zenith of a given place. So basically, it is the line that separates the two halves of a thing. Essentially, it's the great dividing line between all of it. Reality
if you're
and
thinking
fantasy,
horror movies, Meridian is also a hidden city.
Oh, that's Midian actually. That's Midian from Nightbreed and shit. Also, a really great Cradle of Filth album, but close. But yeah, I think it's just to play off of that whole duality theme in the movie. You know what I mean? Or like this fine line between what's real and what's not. Kind of a vibe.
Nightbreed is one of my favorite movies too.
fucking love it. It's one of mine too.
My buddy Jeff, that's his favorite movie.
Yeah,
he
it's
made
great.
D&D. He made D&D character. Nightbreed.
So how'd you guys think it ended? I mean, with with her walking back, going back with them like that. Do you think that was, going back to their world, or do you think it should have been able to end where now that she broke the curse, he could stay in her world, or how did you think? What did you think of the ending?
I think he should have stayed with her, but that's just me.
Oh, yeah, I did find that ending a little confusing, although I guess they stay together, so that's good, I guess. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what
Well,
exactly happened
just think
there.
that troop of people has been around for 400 years, involved in the same curse. So,
So now she went into their world.
not to me, once the curse was broken, that means to me that everything from this world should be how do I put it? There's a balance to everything. So them being in that world kind of counterbalanced things, you know,
Oh,
like they were out of place. So to me, it's like they went back to their own time.
But she went with them.
But she went with them so that there would be someone in his life.
Well,
See,
at
I
her
think
time,
I think he should have stayed in her world.
I agree.
yeah, that would have probably been better.
Oh, and then have them freaks find somebody else to lead them on.
Yep.
Yep.
And the friend could come visit anytime she wanted, like she was told she could.
Okay.
I guess that was like the one part that I really didn't like that much. I didn't like that she went back to their world. I think he should have stayed in hers now that she broke the curse.
I agree.
In a sense, uh, because they came out of that mouth and went back into it, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Brigadoon with Gene Kelly, the musical, where he went to this like Irish town and like you only saw this town like every 1,000 years or whatnot, and then it disappeared.
All right, sorry, I had to go see what the fuck was going on with that vacuuming noise upstairs. Apparently, my brother decided to wait until we were doing this to vacuum out the back of the fridge. It sounds like I'm missing rad stuff, though. We're talking about towns that only appear every 100 years or something.
Yeah, I was.
We were talking about that. I didn't exactly like the ending. I didn't like how she went back to his world with him, and I think he should have stayed in her world.
And I agree.
I could feel that. I could dig on that. I mean, it's one of the things in the movie I think that they leave kind of ambiguous because we don't know that they stayed there, right? Like they could have came back.
Well, they implied that they stayed there, so
they implied that they went back to from whence they came.
For sure, but I mean, it's again, it's
and I was
kind of up to us, I guess, whether we.
I was mentioning Brigadoon, the musical with Gene Kelly, because he met and fell in love with a Irish woman who kind of looked similar to Sherilyn Fenn in a way, because she had black hair and whatnot, and he fell in love with her, but then the town disappeared and he couldn't find her again.
Right. I've unfortunately never seen
love.
that, but I have heard about it.
I've never seen it either or heard of it.
And it always sounds so rad, but
That sounds interesting.
oh, it is a bummer. You know, I feel what you're saying. I like to think they're over there living happily with the Cenobites and like Darby O'Gill and the little people and everyone else that fucking lives on the other side of some shit like that. I don't know. They're hanging out in fucking wherever that realm was from the Never-Ending Story, watching Atreyu fucking lose that horse in the swamp. I don't know. It'd be fun if it was all connected.
Yeah, it would be kind of fun if it were connected to the never-ending story people.
I don't know. You gotta admit though, I am a fan of those like stories of like a stranger in a strange land type thing, and then when they fall in love with whoever, like they go back to their world with them or something instead of staying in like the boring real world. You know what I mean? But I can understand how you would want it to like be the other way around too. So I don't have any objections to that either. You know.
Alrighty. Well, I think at this point we're into production. So why don't we talk about it? Tammy, what did you think about production?
Oh, I love the production because I love that they used an actual castle and they used that garden and everything. I think it made the movie by having real stuff, real scenery, not props, and everything. So I thought that was great. And I do like how they did the effects, with the wall opening. And it got that reddish glow for showing a whole different, like a whole different dimension or whatever.
Made me think of hell.
It's almost a cool parallel to that opening scene too, where they're like walking out of that mouth, but it's like way more sinister. You know what I mean?
Right. So I thought the production was really good.
The way I feel about them walking back into that mouth is the same as I feel about when you see the ghosts in the 13 Ghosts remake walk off into the distance.
That's such cool imagery, man.
One of the best ghost films of all time.
We all know that Full Moon doesn't normally have a big budget, but I think that they made very good use of what they had.
I can't say for Full Moon movies, but as far as B movies go, this is probably one of the best B movies I've seen as far as.
See, I don't even consider
as far as production goes.
Actually, yeah. I mean, all this scenery and statues and the castle and so on, it would have been amazing even in some blockbuster. And then when you take into account the fact that this is a B movie, it makes it even more impressive.
Yeah, I'm glad Tammy brought it up and we're elaborating on it because I don't consider this even really a B movie. It's just kind of a film, you know. I mean, it's like it's just an early '90s film, you know. It doesn't have enough like effects or blood and gore or anything. Like the campiest thing about it is maybe a couple of moments in the script, and that's just because Charles and those people weren't really the best at writing. They had better writers come in later, but if this movie had like, maybe a more professional script writer take another pass over the script, it might feel more like a big budget blockbuster. But this is the closest, I think. This and like Castle Freak are probably the closest Full Moon got in their tenure as Full Moon, not Empire. Even all the stuff as Empire felt B movie-ish in a sense, but this and like Castle Freak really just feel like just horror films to me, you know. Like they don't really have that same cheap vibe that a lot of other Full Moon stuff has, even that they were shooting in the era in the same castles and shit. And Subspecies is another one I would put on that level. They don't really feel like schlocky, you know what I mean?
Right, like I said, we know that they don't have a big budget, but I think they did. They used everything they had to and made this very well.
Like I said, this is probably one of the best movies I've seen that had a lower budget. If you don't want to call it a B movie, it definitely had a lower budget. And they used the budget they had very well. And the only part
for
that
sure
slightly cheesy was maybe the red light portal, but for the 90s, That was pretty good. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. That was pretty much what they would do in a blockbuster movie. So for the '90s, it was good. So but
Oh
today's
yeah, and it gave it
maybe
that.
not so much, but for the '90s, it was.
It
So,
lent to that fairy tale, dreamy vibe too. The way that it was,
like
you
it made me think of hell. Like just because of the red light, it just made me feel like
Yeah,
I'm going to hell. Like when
yeah,
I first started, I was like, what the hell? Like where this fucking portal just opened up from? Like what the, you know? And then when she walked through, it was really weird. But yeah, I was kind of like, where did this fucking portal come from? Like that's the part that threw me off. Like nothing else of the movie threw me off really. Like everything.
I would
else
say
was
too,
kinda
another
flat.
production element. Because I mean, I guess really this, if we're going to talk about special effects in the film, the beast suit is really the special effects.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
that
looks
was
good.
done well. That was done really well. I mean, it didn't
It
feel
was good enough they could use it again in Dracula.
in Bram
so
Stoker's Dracula, which was definitely a
way
blockbuster
bigger
movie.
budget movie. you know?
Whether I really liked it or not, that's irrelevant. It
And
was
it's still pretty fucking recognizable as the same
Exactly.
beast suit, So
Exactly.
it was well done for sure.
definitely well done. It definitely didn't really feel like a low budget movie much at all. Even with the werewolves and everything, they did a good job.
I mean, I guess you could say that their carnival garb feels a bit budget, but that's how that stuff's supposed to feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for a traveling fucking
I
carnival,
mean,
it was accurate.
it felt more, I guess, more realistic. Boy,
Yeah, it's what you would
But-
imagine like a gypsy band of carnival
but just kind of
entertainers would be
in the
wearing.
fact that it was more realistic, I felt that it was a little more boring, the sideshow. But that's just my feeling on it. But it definitely felt realistic. So I wouldn't call that like low budget stuff. I would just call that more realistic.
accuracy. Yeah, it's
Yeah. Or not that much
okay,
accuracy,
and
as the nights were way far away from my head. Like so.
I don't know if you guys picked up on this. I would hope most of you are old enough to remember this kind of shit. But every time I watch Meridian, I also get like a little bit of that, like, like your mom used to have like those steamy romance.
And wasn't he supposed to be
novels
blindfolded
she would
when he
get
was
at-
wasn't he supposed to be blindfolded when he was throwing those knives too?
Oh, like Nora Roberts?
I don't know any of the
it definitely
authors by name.
it definitely had that romance vibe, though, like a romance book vibe.
Yeah, every time I watch Meridian, I get that vibe of like those steamy romance novels where there'd be like a dude with a billowy blouse on the cover with like his chest showing and a chick like clutching his fucking thigh. My mom would always be reading that shit.
Like
when she
Fabio?
wasn't watching. Exactly. When she wasn't like watching Days of Our Lives, she would be reading those like gross romance novels back in the day. And Meridian hardcore captures that vibe.
It
Like
does.
even the fucking cover art and everything.
Which is
Just
probably
really...
why she likes it so much. Right, Tammy?
I want to show this to my mom, but I'm actually afraid of how much she'll like it.
Well, I say
Maybe
show
I'll just
it
lend
to
it
her.
to her and not watch it with
Hey, you
her.
should show it to your
You know?
father. I'm sure he'll like the boobs.
I've watched
yeah.
this with my dad actually, and yes, he's big Sherilyn fan. He approves, and he was quite pleased with Charlie Spradling as well.
Those boobs are definitely just.
I think he might have shown me Charlie Spradling first, because if I remember right, my dad rented Thrashin' for us when we were kids. So, or not Charlie Spradling, Sherilyn Fenn. So I think the first time I saw her was actually because of my dad, and then later I saw her in Twin Peaks, and then obviously, more recently Meridian.
Well, that doesn't show her. You don't show her Twin Peaks.
Was that one of those Blue Angels right there?
Yes.
That was
Yep.
fucking legit.
That was Blue Angel.
They had a big
This movie's
show.
so fucking good. They've got an air show going on to celebrate our discussion, boys. That's
Oh.
Blue Angels.
The air show was yesterday, but they're still around.
Wait,
'Cause we don't
sorry.
live far from the airport.
Oh shit!
Sorry,
so it's not
what
even
show?
scheduled. They're doing those flybys just for us. That's great.
Oh, there was an aerial show that was on yesterday down at the
Stop
lake.
ruining my fantasy, okay, Dave? let
I
it be.
guess it's something I'm not familiar with.
Because you're from this country.
Yeah, that's probably it.
They're the Blue Angel planes.
They
military
do.
planes.
You guys
It's the
probably
Navy.
had
They
similar
do like
planes, like
shows where
airdrop blue
they
jeans
do
to you
fancy
back
things
in the
with their
80s,
planes.
you know, and Hasselhoff tapes. That's probably, you know what I
Top
mean?
Gun.
Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. Top Gun.
Yep. Go watch Top Gun Maverick.
I still have to see that.
I haven't seen it either.
Do you even know what Top Gun is, Boris?
I heard of it, but I think I haven't seen it.
Well, let me tell you, you thought this movie was steamy. Wait until you see that fucking beach volleyball scene in Top Gun, boy.
Right.
that's gonna be life changing.
Tom Cruise.
I don't know. This might be the only full moon movie where I don't have a single gripe. I mean, because even some of their best ones, like Netherworld, this one and Castle Freak are probably the only ones where I don't have a single gripe when it comes to the effects or the production value or the design, you know. Like, and I love Full Moon, but there's usually always something.
I'm very picky
picky
when it comes to effects, and I don't have any great fun on it.
Yeah, this one's solid. And then, you know, I guess from there we should definitely talk about the soundtrack, which is iconic as fuck. I have it on disc, and I do spin the Meridian soundtrack sometimes. It's just like ambient background music, and it's real nice.
So they actually released a soundtrack of it.
Oh yeah, dude. Fucking Full Moon had their own, like, I think it was called Moonbeam Record. No, wait. Moonbeam or the kids' films. You know what I'm talking about, though, Dave. They had that record label for a long time.
Yeah.
And they put out a bunch of, like, their soundtracks and then popular, like, I wouldn't say popular, but albums by artists that they were trying to sign for a little bit, too. Full Moon's always been super ambitious because that's Charlie Band's bag. So, like, when they put out, I think it's bugging me that I can't remember the name. It's Moon. It's something else to do with moons, obviously. But the records, the record label, they didn't just release their film soundtracks. They would also put out like albums by artists that had contributed to the soundtracks, which is pretty unique. You know, that's another example of Full Moon kind of being ahead of the curve on something that would never take off. You know, but it's neat for sure. But I don't know. What do you guys think of the soundtrack? I mean, you can't really go wrong with Pinot Donaggio. Between Carrie and Tourist Trap, the dude's a legend on those alone. And then Dolls, you throw that in the mix. I mean, it's just the guy knows how to put together a soundtrack that is complementary to the film without overshadowing all of it. They're not super loud synthy soundtracks, but they add a cool ambience and atmosphere to the shit. You know what I mean?
It did.
I mean, there's just that whole. If it wasn't for the music coupled with the imagery, several of those scenes that I love so much, like them walking out of that mouth at the beginning, wouldn't have the same impact. I mean, the combination of them doing it, and it's like kind of in this weird slow motion at a frame rate that we're not used to, and then like the music playing over it immediately sets the odd sort of fairy tale dreamlike tone for the movie, and then it carries pretty well throughout all of it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does really good.
Nice.
Yeah, it just blends into the movie. That it's not, for me, it wasn't like super noticeable, but it was noticeable. It blended in to the movie and made the movie better. So it did its job.
Exactly.
It didn't overshadow it, but it was noticeable a little bit, but definitely not enough.
It was
not
noticeable
enough to
when it
overshadow
was
but
meant
not
to be noticeable, you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like it's that proper atmospheric shit. It's not one of those soundtracks that's gonna have like searing synth hooks that you could throw on and like tap your toes to, like The Burning or something. But it it adds to the whole flavor of the film in a way that, like, if it wasn't there you would notice, but it's not noticeable. It's not super like overbearing.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
the place that it is, you know.
Yeah, it's not overbearing at all.
Super cool one. I mean, it's one of my favorite soundtracks that I bought from Full Moon.
Can we get a new favorite scenes now?
9 of them.
Yeah, I liked the music behind it. In ways, it kind of reminded me of like Simonetti, like Goblin just a little bit.
Yes, yeah, it does have that Italian flair, that atmospheric tinge to it that those guys were so good at in Goblin, and it's like a more subdued Goblin soundtrack. Yeah, it's not quite as like in your face with the blaring synth, you know. It's maybe not a soundtrack you'd want to see played live on a stage or something, but it's like a
Definitely
fine soundtrack nonetheless, you know.
What?
I agree.
I don't
Okay,
know, I
let's
guess
go to
now we
favorite
could-
scenes. Krol seems very anxious.
Favorite scenes, favorite characters. We can't forget favorite characters.
Go ahead, Krol.
Oh, okay. Well, favorite character, I'll go with the
The boobs. we know.
no, the boob's not the favorite character. The favorite
I
character
particularly
is-
liked the left one on Cheryl and Finn. It gave it a really good performance.
Oh, the right one was really good too. They were
He
twins.
was facing
you
the
know?
camera for a good portion of the time. So
They,
that probably
they were
helped.
twins, so they both looked great. The friend, the 80s chick was probably, even though she wasn't, like, she was in it, but she wasn't the center of the movie, obviously. But I don't know, I liked her character and her vibe more. So I actually, she's my favorite character. But as far as favorite scenes go, yes, when he opens up her bra and those fucking boobs pop out, and it's just pizzow. It's like right
Oh.
there. It's like, I mean, I'm one to notice boobs, and even with heavy clothing, I usually can see. And I really didn't see how great her boobs were. Like, even in just the bra, I didn't see how great her boobs was. It wasn't until he popped the bra and they fell out. It was like a light shined on them. It was glorious.
Well, you'd be hard pressed to find a movie with a
and I
sex
have
scene
to say-
as hot as that one in there, and he turns into a werewolf through it.
And
Partly
my,
through it. It's still
and my,
fucking hot.
and my
you know?
second scene is the other chick when he takes her top off and you see her boobs. Because, yeah, they're both perfect fucking boobs. That's a boobs, man. They're just, I mean, there was some other good scenes that didn't involve boobs, but I really have to stress how great those boobs were. My
Well, fair
kudos to
enough.
the maker of those boobs. Whether it's some kind of god or what.
I'm pretty sure Charlie's are natural as well. So the more I'm looking back on it, it's like, because I don't know why I thought Sherilyn Fenn had fake boobs. Maybe I'm thinking of a later movie. I feel like she did get breast implants at some point.
She doesn't need them.
Because I've been looking at a couple of
Oh, maybe because they were
stills over
maybe
here
because they
after
were.
we talked about it. And let me just say, I've been gazing at those breasts for about the last 45 minutes, and they look the same in Puppet Master too. So she definitely hadn't got a boob job between those two movies, and she doesn't look that. I mean, she didn't get one for bad channels either. You don't even see her boobs in that. She's fully clothed the whole time. So
I mean,
He's gazing at her while you are keeping your camera off.
Hey, man. Let me just tell you right now, I got a desk right here. I would have no problem doing whatever I need to do while on camera.
Well, staring at those breasts, I don't blame you.
But I respect you guys enough not to do that. Point being, though, I think that Sherilyn Fenn overshadows Charlie Spradling a little bit in the hotness department in this, just because she was such a sex symbol at the time. But man, I have a thing for Charlie Spradling.
I don't know anything about the sex symbol. To me, this is the first time really seeing these girls. I mean, I might have seen them in passing in something, I don't know. But I don't think I've really seen either of these girls, and I definitely haven't seen their tits. So to me,
well, I mean, off the cuff, which one you find hotter in general?
I would say the first girl, but the second girl I think was just as hot. It was just like that.
Yeah,
like when I saw,
like we were saying.
I think as far as scenes go, I have to say the first girl, only because the way he took off her bra and you saw those moves was just kind of like pow, it was just kind of in there in your face, like wow, those are fucking good.
So it's no longer a spudao.
Yeah, I mean, it's a spadao, it's a pow, it's a whatever you want to call it. It's
I
a
feel like it was
it's
more
a
of a
it's a
boing,
I
boing,
just
but,
came can. You know, it's really fucking hot, and it's just, you know, it's just. I mean, I see the way they presented her boobs was better, but as far as actual which one was better, I can't say it. Both those goddamn boobs were hot. I mean, I
I think
like
it's
the.
situational for me. It's like we were
I guess
talking about before we got in the call. Like they
the,
complement each other so
the
perfectly because
second
you have
girl, I liked her 80s look, but then the first girl got in
yes,
that dress, and now that
she's
dress
got that
was,
classic
but
like
that dress got
50s
super hot.
starlet look to her, you know,
Yeah,
where
I
it's
didn't
like
really care for her look before, but the dress was fucking hot. So
fashion aside,
I'd
I
have
mean,
to
we're
say
obviously talking
I'd
about
have
them
to
naked,
say
you know.
the friend was better dressed at first, but undressed they were pretty much equal, man. I really can't say it. Just the way they presented the breasts in the first one was better.
Well, and Charlie
Okay, does
Spradling
anybody
again,
else
it's
have
like
a favorite scene other than breasts?
No, we're all men. We all like the breasts.
let's be objective here, okay? Well, I think you missed it in the chat, but we were talking. I mean, even as a woman, I think you could appreciate this. They chose the actresses very well because you've got, you know, Sherilyn Fenn, who's got that classic like sort of 50s 60s starlet look. She's very reminiscent of like a Marilyn Monroe. And then you've got Charlie Spradling, who's got that like 80s girl next door kind of vibe. She's a chick you might go to a Van Halen concert with, you know. So they did a real good job of picking the two chicks that couldn't overshadow each other in the hotness department, really, because they're
Yeah,
just as hot but in different ways. And
yeah,
this is coming from me, who like you don't see Sherilyn Fenn's tits in Thrashing. You don't see them in Twin Peaks. You don't see Charlie Spradling's tits in Bad Channels or most of the other stuff that she was in. Sherilyn Fenn is the exception, as Dave well knows. But I mean, both the girls are very beautiful, you know, and
all I want
that
to do is I
adds
want
a
to see
lot
both
to the
their tits
movie
a lot
too.
more.
I honestly think the movie still would have been just as hot and seductive and all that stuff, even if we'd never seen them actually fully naked. But the fact that we get to is a huge bonus for sure.
It's a bone.
I don't know, man. I mean, as far as
Nice
like,
one.
favorite scenes, I mean, I've talked about favorite imagery, and that's going to be a lot of it for me with Meridian. I really do like them coming in and out of the fucking various entryways that they come into. I think it's like cool that those scenes are so memorable, and it's really just people walking in and out of various openings. But then again, certain things going in and out of various openings was also the other memorable scenes in the movie, so I can't help but think
Well,
that
there's
it's
only
fucking somehow
I don't.
related.
I think we only
The
saw one
scenery,
opening actually.
obviously. I mean, I could watch an hour of them just
We
shooting the
didn't see
locations
blowjobs
that
right
they
on
were at.
so.
In this, you know what I mean? I could watch probably 30 minutes of this just slow panning through that statue garden. I mean, it's just a beautiful place.
Am I the only one that wanted to see him do her doggy style?
I think that might have been a bit on the nose. You know what I mean? Or on the tail, whatever you want to call it. But it's, you know.
Still, or in the tail.
I think avoiding the perviness with a movie like Meridian is impossible. I think it's just natural. You know, I think most people are stricken by how well it's shot too. It's not shot in a sleazy way, which lends some respectfulness to the proceedings as ravey as they all are.
I mean, it's definitely done well. It isn't just like, oh, look, here's some tits. You know, it was done purposely and for a good reason. And the way they did it was good for the story.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if I had to narrow it down to just a singular scene, it might actually be the whole first like ghost encounter in the movie, which is strange coming from me being as well documented as not liking that kind of stuff. But the first time I watched Meridian and that whole shit was happening, it was like, whoa, what the fuck is happening now? Like the movie had already gotten weird.
Like who the hell is
and
this
then
kid?
they're introducing ghosts and shit. So
I
immediately, like, it was one of those
first.
things. I did the same thing right now that I did when I watched it the first time. Like, I sat up on the edge of my seat, kind of a thing, because it was like, holy shit, you know, this is a curveball I was not expecting for there to be like ghosts in this shit.
Right.
So I guess that would be my singular favorite scene if I had to pick, where she's like running, trying to find the person or whatever, and then she sees the lady like on the bed and shit, and then she's gone, and then she goes and like tries to talk to the nanny about it. That whole ghost the introduction of the ghost element is probably my favorite.
I do have to say that besides the boobs, the realization that the nanny was a ghost was definitely a highlight of the movie.
That's a
It's
strong
definitely
contender too.
I mean, and also the picture, finding out that the whole picture was the story of what's happening now,
also
was
rad.
also fucking rad. So I do have to mention those two part scenes as well. They were just really
Charlie, if you want to sell
mind-blowing.
replicas of that painting in like an old-timey style replica frame, I will buy it for
I would
$100.
buy it. I think I'd buy it myself, and I don't buy that shit. I might want to buy this movie now if they got it on Blu-ray.
They do.
I wanna
Beautiful
see those
remastered
tits,
edition
man.
of it on Blu-ray. We'll work
Okay.
it. We'll get you up there because their
All right,
DVD
Boris, how
remasters are
about
real
you?
good too. So
I mean, I
I'll
can
be
watch
keeping
porn
some
anytime I
review
want, but those tits are just better than porn.
Well, I could be biased towards this Cheryl fan. Is that what her name is?
Yeah, the
Carolyn
normal
Fenn?
one. Yeah.
Sherilyn Fenn and Charlie
Sherlyn.
Spradlin.
Oh
Commit
yeah,
those
yeah.
names
Yeah,
to
Sherilyn
memory,
Fenn.
my boy.
Yeah, I could be biased towards her because she is physically the most beautiful. But as far as character development goes, maybe I would go with Oliver because he is the one, even though I do wish we got to see more of his backstory with his brother.
Want to see
He's
more of his
actually the
backside.
one with some moral inner conflict going on, and that's what actually makes him an interesting character. And my favorite scene would probably be when he ended up killing his brother after all in order to save the girl.
Okay. How about you, David?
He's not gonna.
I guess my favorite.
I love. Okay, let's address the elephant. We've made Tammy wildly uncomfortable here.
What else is
you
new?
know, it was inevitable with some shit like this, man.
Hey, she's the one
They
who picked
did it
it.
to us.
It's
I
her
blame
fault.
Charlie and Full Moon. Okay, they should shoulder the full responsibility for this. I'm sorry if it bothered you, Tammy, but
No, you don't bother me. I told
I
David
think,
last night.
just to preface for anybody that might be listening that hasn't seen the movie, it's very respectfully shot and done in Meridian. It doesn't
Hey,
feel
go
like
watch those
porn,
boobs.
you know.
No, it totally wasn't. It wasn't like porn. It was way better than porn. Way
I
better.
told David when we were watching it, I didn't know you were coming on, Mo, but I knew Krol would be on it. I said, well, we already know what Krol's favorite parts are.
You're right. You're right. And I'm not saying I don't like those parts. I usually do, but usually I have different favorite parts. But for this movie, I just couldn't. That was just so perfect.
It's hard to deny it, man. I mean, and
All
it's
right,
shot
all
so
right,
well.
we get the point. Now let David.
If you
say his
eliminated the rapiness from that first encounter, it would actually be super romantic. So I mean, it's directly meant to make you question the morality.
If you drop the roofie act, it would have been.
I think that one of my favorite scenes is the reveal that the nanny is the ghost.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the boobs.
It is a favorite, but it is not the first one that I put out. But I do enjoy the pairs of titties here. But I'm a guy. I can't not like say that those don't.
Well, I can't deny it. I did it all for
I mean, there's a scene in what is that vampire movie? Embrace of the Vampire, the original one, not the crappy remake.
The black and white.
No, it's not black and white.
And you're not talking about the original.
I'm not talking about that one either. But Embrace of the Vampire. Actually, Actually, there is no black and white Embrace of the Vampire. There is a
You're
Kiss
talking
of the
about the
Vampire.
one with Alyssa Milano.
The one with Alyssa Milano. That
Oh,
one.
I love Alyssa Milano.
That one is on the erotic nature of the thing.
I gotta watch it. Alyssa Milano and Vampire. I mean,
Whoa, she's tempted to become one.
I don't care what she is. She's in it. Is she naked?
Yes.
Oh my god, even better. Clothes, I love her. Naked? Oh shit. Poison
Bro,
Ivy?
do
No, not
you
Poison Ivy.
watch movies with your eyes or with your, you know what?
We all watch it with both. Don't.
I like
fucking play with me,
Alyssa
bro.
Milano clothes or unclothed. But obviously unclothed is better.
I mean, Charmed alone, I think, made us all, both
No.
of us at least, lifelong
No.
fans of her, and then-
I was a Melissa Milano fan in Who's the Boss. And I was the same age.
I mean, I was probably a Alyssa Milano fan since Commando, but I mean, she's
I
like
was
a
the
young
same-
ass kid.
I was the same age as her, so it was okay that I liked the 12-year-old because I was a 12-year-old.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. It's like one of those things, like a Danielle Harris thing, right? Or like
Yeah.
Anna Klumsky or whatever. Yeah, I don't know, man. What's your favorite scene outside of the ghost one, though? If you had to pick, even if it's just like imagery or whatever, Dave.
I think the imagery of these sculptures around the
Those were
garden were interesting. I thought that the historical lore of the place was interesting. And I do like the fact that this is kind of like a Cain and Abel, Beauty and the Beast kind of a story. So I do enjoy. I did enjoy the transformation of the werewolf when he transformed into the wolf man or the beast as it were, because it wasn't a full on transformation, but you could tell that they were actually trying,
Oh yeah, and the finished product was enough to make up for there not being any weird bubbly bladder flesh or anything like that, And that would have just been awkward during like such a elegantly shot sort of intimate scene, I think too. I mean, it goes without saying. There's been plenty of love scenes in werewolf movies since this, and there was a few before this that this one probably borrowed a little bit from. The sweaty werewolf sex in The Howling with Tom Atkins and his fucking mustache cheating on his wife out in the woods. I don't know why you would ever cheat on Dee Wallace werewolves or not, but it happens. That scene
men are stupid.
And they did that where they like animated it over the fucking film cell, where it kind of has like a weird fucking Disney vibe to it almost, you know what I mean? Where it's like almost like rotoscoped over the people and then animated on top of that. This is definitely taking some cues from shit like that, but then you could also see cues from shit like this taken even as far forward as like Ginger Snaps or what is it, that scene in Trick or Treat where the werewolf girls lure those guys out by the campfire and then they transform while they're like, banging the dudes and rip them apart and stuff. So there's definitely a long tradition of like wolf sex in these movies, but I think if you were to level the award for being like the most elegantly done at one, Meridian would be probably top contender. And the suit, I just can't get over how good it looks, for being a full moon movie.
I think I second this one with The Company of Wolves.
Solid choice.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is-
This is one, if I was to recommend it to people, though, honestly, I think I would hold off on really selling the sexy element of it. I think I would leave that up to them. I might just tell someone that it was like, it's like a twisted Beauty and the Beast. It's like a twisted version of Beauty and the Beast. I think that's what I would say, and just leave it at that. I don't know. Is this one you guys would recommend to like friends to check out, or would you be too weirded out by the sexy element of it?
Oh yeah, I would definitely recommend it to friends. I mean, it is slow in parts, but it's not as bad as that Dread Central dude made it out to be.
Oh, nowhere near. I mean, it's slow in an atmospheric way. I wouldn't say the movie's ever boring because even during the downtime, you're like getting really cool imagery or really cool locations. It just, it comes together real nice at the end. Isn't the runtime just around 2 hours? I don't even think it's like goes over that. It might not even be that long. I feel like it's like an hour and 45 minutes, maybe. It's long for a full moon movie, but like not super long in terms of like movies in general. You know what I mean?
I would
Well-
definitely recommend it because it is one of the ones that I've thought it was my favorites. Which David knows because like I said, I originally had it taped on a VHS and I kept looking to get it for real, and then it's been one of those. I want to get this for real. I want to get this. And I had it on that 8-pack, and then Full Moon had that sale, and I got it that way. So
Fuck yeah.
Well, this movie
Actually,
is
you,
not.
Tammy, are the
Yeah.
best testimonial we could have because you're a woman. You're not in it for the tits or the sex.
Matt, Sarah,
And that's
Some
proof
women are.
positive. Maybe, but that's proof positive. I mean, okay, because like as much as we've focused on that for shits and giggles here, there's a lot more to Meridian than just the
I
sex
agree.
scene. You
I
know,
agree.
it lends a good element to the movie that obviously we all enjoy, but the movie is fucking just rad in general. So
It really is.
I
think
like
I would
that
just
element that you guys are talking about, but in a different way. I like it because I like the guy getting with her. Not
You like the sex scene as like a love scene, like you said, making love.
yeah, kind of
Yeah,
like.
I mean-
I'm not looking at it as what she looks like. I'm looking at it as the romantic.
The way they're doing what they're doing and how they're doing it.
and the way it's shot. If you
Yeah.
notice, I've praised
It's done-
that
it's
a lot.
done great
and
job.
it's-
I
I
mean,
honestly, I've seen both their tits before seeing this movie, so that wasn't that big
Oh,
of a reveal
so
to me.
you'd say
But
it's
the way it's
the
shot
best romantic
is fucking
rape
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's as unfortunate of a category as that would be to present an award for. Meridian would win it for sure.
it was great the way he like put his hand down her leg and was like such a magnificent body, It's just the way he just
It's shot in that way that
caresses
the
her,
covers
caresses
looked on your
her,
mom's romance novels.
caresses her body and tells her how beautiful it is. It's definitely very romantic.
Oh, yeah.
So,
One day that'll
some
be
of
me
my
and you, Krol.
What?
some of my favorite scenes is I do like that, like you've been talking about, Mo, where they first come out like that, and come out of that cave or whatever. That does look really cool when they're all just first coming out. And
Yeah, love it.
I like when the wall opens for like the first time and it's got that reddish glow and you're seeing kind of into that other world. I think that looks really neat. And of course, the shot of like all the statues and everything. Those are some of my favorite parts of it.
You can't beat it, man. I mean, it's super well shot. I'd love to somehow edit all that into like a loop and make it like my computer wallpaper or a screensaver. You know what I mean? Like an animated screensaver. It's just them walking out, and then it fades to like those panning shots of the fucking statue garden and stuff. Those almost give me just as much of a boner as the movies.
I enjoyed them, but I didn't get a boner from them.
Yeah, we had to fit another one in there somewhere. Love you, Tammy. Love you, Dave. Sorry. It's just the way it is, man. I mean, we're talking about erotic wolf love movies, and this top
Usually
tier
I'm
shit.
one of the
I'm
best.
usually a vampire guy, but yeah.
At the same time, as I joked about it earlier, actually, I think I wouldn't even feel that uncomfortable showing something like this to my mom because it's done like artistically enough that she wouldn't feel like it was filth,
Right.
Like
This
this
isn't
isn't the
one
type
that I
of
would
movie where if
probably
someone
show to
walked
my
in
mom.
during the nude scene where I would feel uncomfortable like other horror movies that I watch, Like if my mom or someone walked in and I was watching this as like a fucking 16-year-old kid or something, I'd have been like, you see this shit? Like I don't think I would feel like I was watching smut, because it's handled with respect.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's definitely not porn.
Nah.
Who said it was?
It is put in with the sexploitation genre.
I don't agree with. I mean, I agree with it, but I don't. It's erotic, but it's not pornographic or exploitative or whatever the word is. You know what I mean? Like there is some.
You don't see the dick go into the pussy. You don't
Well, not
see.
even that aside. I mean, outside of the slight rapiness of it, the story does come full circle. It's not like it's just left at that. Like a lot of other movies would be. So. Again, I mean, it's just handled very respectfully. It's shot with the art in mind. It's not shot with the idea that it's meant to just be smutty, So
I agree.
It's got a lot going for it.
Definitely artful.
If it was smutty at all, you'd have at least seen some cum coming off of her lips or something like that.
Oh shit, dude. But I mean, my point is that like this shouldn't have been behind the curtain at my video store. This is one of those full moon movies I've been lucky enough to discover in my last like 2 years of really collecting hardcore for them. That I was stoked on because it was like I was stoked, but I was simultaneously bummed because I didn't get to enjoy it. If I'd saw this as a 12-year-old dude, guarantee you I would have sent that tape back with all types of fuzzy spots before and after the nude check because I would have been pausing it and rewinding it. So I lost some years with that. But I think maybe that did me some good too because I'm able to appreciate it as like a full adult now that doesn't need to.
I'm glad I've never seen her tits before because the way they revealed them in this movie was perfect.
Really, she's hot and everything else too. I mean, Twin Peaks. Now, if you go back and watch that, you're gonna be so stoked.
I want to see her Twin Peaks.
The more horror movies that we show you, the more stoked you're gonna be on Twin Peaks. I mean, you got the fucking gimp dude from People Under the Stairs is like one of the sweetest characters in the fucking show. I mean, it's such a bizarre. Yeah, it's so good.
It's a TV series.
Well, the People Under the Stairs is what I was talking about. But yeah.
I didn't think it was a TV show.
Dude, you've never seen People Under the Stairs?
No.
Oh my god, dude, that's Wes Craven's 90s masterpiece right there. As People.
That's a good one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude.
What?
It's basically like this black kid.
I know what
Ving
it is.
Rhames.
I know what it is.
Oh, so you know what it's about, and they like try to break into the house and to get the gold or whatever, and it turns out it's like a house of horrors. It's fucked up, but yeah, it's good shit. We should cover that one of these days.
It's like Vacancy or Hills.
You know what other movie is that
Go ahead.
nobody talks about much anymore? Powder.
I love Powder. I love it,
Powder's a good
even though
one.
it involves that weird
Never saw it.
homo guy that was
about
involved with Jeepers Creepers. I can't not like the movie because I found that out 20 years later, so I still love Powder. I think it's great.
Alrighty. I think that pretty much wraps up the discussion then. So why don't we go around to our outros? So, Boris, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So as the people who watch us regularly already know, probably my real name is Filip. I'm from Croatia. Boris is a nickname I got because of the character I played in a short horror movie I made for Joe Sherlock's anthology, Dark Zone 13.
I thought it was because you were related to Boris Karloff. Damn.
No, I was not nicknamed after that one, but nice reference.
Who's the cuckoo?
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say?
I said, who's the cuckoo? We just heard a cuckoo clock.
I was just thinking he was talking about Karloff's Boris. Anyways.
Yeah, so aside from being a horror fan and discussing movies with you guys, I'm an aspiring writer. I published a poetry book on Amazon Kindle a while ago, and now I'm trying to get some horror fiction novels I wrote published. And I'm looking for a job too.
Someone's hiring.
Sorry, what did you say?
I said, so if anyone in Croatia is hiring.
Mhm.
And don't forget, Boris is likely going to play Radu in our table reading of The Full Moon Revengers coming soon from Retro Cult Home Video and the old ass retro
Ooh.
game. Krol's going to play Sherilyn Fenn's tits.
He's gonna play with them. Anyways,
So I'm just
Krol.
gonna play with myself.
Krol, why don't you tell us, besides being a pair of tits, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Are you trying to say I'm a big boob?
No. He said you were too
If
big.
that
boob.
is
Oh,
an
two big
admission,
boobs.
I'll take it.
Wow, how rude! I've never.
If that is an
Dude,
admission,
I mean, I thought about casting you and Dave as one of as a singular tit, but I have so much faith in your acting ability.
What is going
I can
on
play out
here?
right and left hit so well. I'll just go boozow and pop out of people. Anyways, yeah, I'm Krol, aka Ron. I watch movies and TV shows. I love it. I love talking about them. I read. I play a bunch of phone apps. I read. Right now, I'm just pretty much reading Star Wars books. I'm getting caught up on the EU, which I've read. Getting close to 300 books now, and still got another 100 or so to go. But getting done with that, I really enjoy that. I'm a huge, super Star Wars fan. And if you listen to the show, you'll know because I mentioned something about Star Wars just about every episode. So yeah, and I'm on this podcast and talk about the movies, and also come on to another podcast on Tuesday nights and talk about the movies there. And also, I just started coming on a monthly anime show, which I will be on this coming Monday tomorrow, talking about Slayers, which was an absolute hilarious anime. If you've never seen it, check it out. It's on Funimation. Great show. I love it. It's really great. But yeah, that's me.
Well, let us not forget, you're going to be a feature repeat collaborator for the Full Moon Live series that we're doing over on my channel.
Yeah, I've done.
And
we've done one movie already, the Dr. Mordred.
Yeah, you and Boris
And-
came on for a pretty legit discussion for Dr. Mordred, which actually, in sort of a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon way, kind of led to this. We talked about Dark Angel there, and then Boris chose it for this show, and that sparked up the interest. And by the grace of the gods, fucking Tammy chose Meridian. Which is great because I've not even covered this on my channel, but we're going to be doing Arcade in the future together over there. Hopefully we'll be able to get you and Boris and Dave and Tammy, if you guys want, back over there for another discussion at some point. Still some movies left to choose from. Maybe we could do Netherworld or something like that. And me and Krol actually are eventually going to be launching a sort of a seasonal podcast in more ways than one, called BoobTube Chronicles, where we will be watching like a season at a time of a show and releasing limited podcasts for them.
Starting with Buffy.
Yeah, Buffy's going to be our first one. We're going to do, a discussion for each season. They're not going to be like on a weekly thing. It'll just probably happen like once a month until we do all of them, and then we'll take a break.
Do one season
and come back for another series in the future. Eventually it's going to be culminating, or not culminating, but eventually it will include 2 years from now fucking series-wide discussion for Stranger Things that I'm already arranging some pretty crazy guests for, up to including Chris Siever, who's already signed on to do it with us, provided we're still talking by then. So some cool people will be involved in that. But yeah, look forward to that. Probably, I don't know, I'm sure we'll get into it this fall. Buffy, it seems like, if we're coming out of fucking summertime and going into the fall, it's a good time to start banging out Buffy seasons and throwing down our thoughts on them. So maybe look forward to at least the first couple of those in the near future. I think the first Buffy season's like 13 episodes, and after that,
it's a short season.
The second one, so we could probably drop both those at once, and then it might take us, I don't know, a month or two.
Yeah,
to get the other.
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
First, first season had some great episodes, but was a very short season. It was more
I'll
of
just say this:
it was more of a monster of the month week type thing in the first season. While it's
first
catching its legs.
couple, really, I feel like it's like
then
season
second
where it really
season
starts getting
2.
thick, but
Season 2 on is when they started
introduced.
having a big baddie. Season 2 was
Yeah.
Angel, and each season they had somebody different. Having Willow and Glory, and yeah, I think the final season was really well. We pretty much we were fighting evil. We were fighting the original evil.
We'll get there. Okay, don't give away all our shit. A lot of these motherfuckers might not have seen Buffy too, and hopefully we can encourage some people to get into this shit with us.
Yeah, if you haven't seen
it, yeah, you missed out. At least go watch the movie, for fuck's sake.
Now the movie doesn't really have a lot to do. I mean, they do spin off the show from the movie, but they change some things. In the movie, she's a senior. In the show, she's a freshman. So they change a few things, obviously, and they change the actress. Christy Swanson was in the movie. The movie was more of a spoof, like a vampire spoof movie. Where
It's
the show
fun.
was,
I imagine we'll cover it.
The show they try to do a little bit more realistic, more dramatic than a spoof, but they definitely have some funny scenes in it, and they do spoof Dracula.
The movie's still in its DNA, and then I guess just to wrap this up real quick, so we can kick it over to Dave. My name is Mo. I do a channel called Retro Cult Home Video. Mostly I cover full moon stuff, and I've been doing that for the last couple of years. But if you follow me on social media, there's all types of old archived reviews on there, and we're going to be working in more general horror stuff and various shit like that. But I typically do a live stream or two a week. We've been banging out the full moon live discussions, so that's kind of our main focus at the moment. But edited reviews are going to trickle in and then eventually start flowing. They used to, once we hit the end of last year's discussion list. So, we're just basically discussing all the movies I did reviews for last year. We're about halfway through the list, so I think we still have like 9 of them left to do, and it's going to be good times. So come on over for that. Off to you, Dave.
Alrighty, and Tammy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm David's fiance, and I go on here on another channel and discuss movies and watch lots of them and collect them myself. And
wait a minute, Dave's my fiance. You're not actually twins, are you? Sorry, go ahead.
Where did that come from?
There's 2 policemen.
And then
shooting Mo, are you cheating on me again?
You're cheating on him with her.
If I'm cheating on you with you, then I guess so.
Well, I am a werewolf, and I might have a twin.
All right, I'm going to have to pull Ron into this sometime then, that my other husband,
Wait, what about Boris? You leaving him out?
Yeah, good question.
Boris,
can he be your
communal,
lover?
Okay?
Can he be your lover?
Some freaky circus shit. We don't have a communal lover that we just all share.
Boris,
this got out of hand.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna be.
We need to reel it in.
I guess I'm gonna have to be the spider in your rooms while we are having sex, and you won't even be. You won't.
Oh, he's gonna be the voyeur.
We gotta watch, dude. That's part of the deal. Okay. It's sport for sure.
And
I don't like spiders.
And while he's watching, he's recording and uploading it to YouTube.
Yeah, we're making
YouTube. You mean RedTube?
That's what's going on.
No, that's
RedTube, not YouTube.
He's got to make some money somehow. That's his new job.
That's
and this, folks, is how
that's
you
what
get
Sassy does.
demonetized.
And it's not a spider on the wall.
Hey,
it's a
some
fly.
people make money doing that shit.
Boris, it's supposed to be a fly on the wall, not the spider on the wall.
No, my kitty
What
cat.
What have I done with?
Come into the parlor to set the spider to the splat.
No, Sassy's the voyeur. She's the one that watches.
Oh, cats always do. Cats love to
One time I had a cat jump on a girl's back as we were, I mean, I'm sure you can imagine what position I would be in to be looking directly at the cat to see it jump on her back, but it was the weirdest fucking thing in the world, and I couldn't look at my cat for like a week. Why would you do that? She had a couple of fucking litters of kittens. She knew what was going on, and she did it anyways, and it just made me feel so violated.
How do you think the girl felt?
Tammy had
she just, I think, said what, and then by the time she said what, it was over, you know. Maybe she thought I developed little delicious paw beans on the ends of my fucking fingers, and I just felt like a adorable kitty for a minute. I don't know that. I like to think that's what happened.
She didn't realize it was a cat, but okay.
It just happened real quick. Like the cat just jumped on there and then like looked at me and then just jumped away. You know what I mean? Like,
you don't want to know.
She looked at you and she's like, "I know what you're doing."
What'd you say, Tammy?
You don't want to know what Sassy did to one of my roommates. I had a friend stay
was
in
his name
here,
Dave?
and I didn't know that
his name was Tom.
I didn't know that he slept in the nude because he had his own room, right? And all of a sudden I heard yelling and screaming, and he's got a sheet around him in the middle of the hallway. And I'm like, what is going on? Evidently, Sassy decided to go in his room while he was sleeping and lick something.
Yeah.
And he goes,
That's not like a dog,
idea?
you
He
know?
goes, you have any idea what sandpaper feels like down there?
Yeah.
Oh my.
It's not like a dog where you might think it's part of a dream at first while you're just laying there. The
And
cat
you
will
wake up
right
all
away.
happy, and then you look down, you're like, ah!
Oh, yes, he was definitely freaked out for a while because she licked him there. And he couldn't stop talking about, do you know what sandpaper feels like there?
I had a cat who fucking lay down on my face while I was sleeping. I'm like,
Well,
what
let's
the
put
fuck?
it this way. He
I woke up
closed
and
his-
I'm like, fucking
He
threw the
closed
cat.
his door from then on all the way.
I guess if you didn't eat that pussy, then I guess she kept putting it there to make you try.
And this has been our
I don't
closing
want that
segment,
kind of
which
pussy.
we will call "How to Get Demonetized in 5 Minutes or Less." This is for sure fucking probably getting an 18 or over seal or something. That's fine. You shouldn't be a little kid listening to our shit anyways.
No, that's not the way we talk about boobs. That kind of stuff.
Well, then I'll wait to tell you guys after we're off what else Sassy did.
Well, let's get this off the
Okay.
air, Dave. I want to hear what that is.
Did she look you too?
Well,
Get
Well,
out there
I
and watch
just-
Meridian. It's
she
available
was
on
laying,
Freevee,
she was laying in
Amazon,
between. I was sitting on the recliner,
TV.
and she was
and
laying in
Freevee.
between my legs, and all of a sudden I looked down at her and I touched her and realized her motor was going right against my. So
Get your motor running.
David says, "Oh, your pussy's vibrating your pussy."
Yeah, quite literally.
Wow. Get your own personal vibrator. Doesn't even need batteries.
Yeah, that was about it. And I mean, all the years I've had her, I don't think she's ever done that where she laid right there and decided, "Oh, I'm going to make my motor run right now."
Yep, and all I can think is Sassy was singing in her mind, I can't get no satisfaction.
I can't get no mattress action.
Alrighty, I think
So
this
I
has
tried.
already gone X-rated, but my name
And
is
I
David
tried.
Craigie. I am one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore, which is another podcast that most of this crew is part of. But
What
hopefully
is the
you have
next one
enjoyed
over there?
our discussion here on Delusions of Grandeur, where we have fun talking about films of all levels. And just go out and see Meridian. It's a blast, and I think you'll enjoy it. And let us know down in the comments what you thought. Hopefully, you're not a child listening to this. But,
And if you are, shame on you.
exactly.
Shame on us.
We'll be.
If you are, pay close attention to Sherilyn Fenn and Charlie Spradlin's movies, because you're going to want to know how to spot the difference between a real and a fake. That works
We'll
for money
be
just
back.
like it does for tits.
They're both
We'll
real.
be back
They're
next
both real.
week with
Those are
whose
quick and dirty
turn is it
lessons you
next
can
week?
learn from us over here at Delusions of Grandeur, kids. Keep doing it.
Whose turn it is it next week? By the way.
Mine.
Okay,
And
and
next week,
if you've chosen,
Next week we are gonna do a spoof of Star Wars. No wait, a spoof of Star Trek. No wait, a spoof of Wizard of Oz. No wait, a spoof of Planet of the Apes. All the above. Spaceballs. Next week. The
I will come for that,
spoof
dude.
movie
And
of
we
all.
might actually be able to get a surprise appearance from Nami for Space.
a movie that will definitely not
Nice.
suck.
Definitely not. It does not.
Oh,
suck
it'll suck
Spaceballs.
all the despair out of your life
Oh,
and make you
It'll
feel the
suck.
best you felt in a
It'll
long
suck
time.
and blow.
I'm surrounded by assholes.
So bring out your hair dryers as for
One,
this event.
2, 3, 4. Amazing. That's my combination too.
So everyone say good night.
Good
Night,
night.
Gracie.
Night.